Welcome everybody to tonight's coverage of the Aegis Executioners League. I am Bo3, and joining me tonight, as per usual, is my other half, my better half. It's Quax. How you doing tonight, Quax?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Week number 3 of the AEL, and 2 teams in the Hextech group to lead us for the broadcast today. It's going to be the Shadow Cows, love that name by the way, versus team, and we had some difficulty pronouncing
We had to figure this out.
Oizys is what we believe that this is how it's going to be pronounced. Yeah, something like that. And both of these teams, none of them undefeated. The Shadow Cows actually on the opposite end of the spectrum. They are 0-2 as of the last couple of weeks, and we have the roster right here. DJ Zeller, Twitch Jungle, who has conveniently not played that pick yet. Dr. Shrouds, Bustin, who is being actually subbed out today or couldn't make it today, and instead it's going to be Crush Card, their sub, as you can see on down there, and their support is going to be Righteous. So this is a squad that, like I said, has not picked up a series win yet. You can see they did, however, manage to grab a game. So, you know, there's still some hope here, and I would say that this is going to be a team that can easily put up a fight against our other team, Team Oizys, who has Sassy Frost in the top lane, Peach Jello in the jungle, Dreams in the mid lane, Yomi in the AD carry position, and T1 Jello in support. So 10 new names, or at least 10 names that I don't recognize, and 2 teams that I also don't recognize, and I am excited to see what they're made of here in the AEL coming into week 3.
Yeah, we are in week 3, so most of the teams that we have right now are not, like, fully solidified. There are some teams that can still go through, like, I wouldn't say rebrands, but just, like, re-solidifying their rosters, figuring out exactly what kind of style they want to do. Yeah. And style was something we were talking about earlier before the broadcast, just like, hey, both of these teams love to play around their bottom lanes. They love to play, like, really for getting their AD carry ahead and snowballing it out of control from there. But, Quax, I remember you saying that when we learned that the substitute was coming through, it did definitely change how you thought the series score was going to go coming into predictions for this week.
Yeah, this certainly seems like, you know, with Crush Card being the sub 80 carry for the Shadow Cows, I said before the broadcast that I think both of these teams really live and die by how the ADC performs, Yami and now Crush Card, and so I'm going to stand by that. And obviously, you know, cohesion is a big part of the AEL, so I'm more in favor of Team Oizys being able to actually take this one. Obviously, I'm hoping that the Shadow Cows can put up a fight and, you know, hope maybe even prove me wrong in the series score, but you know, I do think that subs definitely are not something that you want to have in any series, and against a team like Team Oizys, who are also 1-1, I think it's even more important, because this is a team that some people are saying, oh, you should be able to beat them, right? There's only one series that kind of separates your score, and so I'm interested to see what ends up happening, but for the most part, yeah, not having a sub, never a great sign, and I'm overall thinking that it's going to be more one-sided with a sub than not with a sub at the end.
Yeah. We'll have to see how it goes for Team Shadow Cows. Maybe this ends up being a combination that they want to work with later on into the season, so perhaps this is just like scrim results have been going well for this pairing in the bottom lane. We want to step forward with them. Now, unfortunately, our normal drafting site, our back end uses, is down currently. We realized it was down, I think, about 20 minutes before the show started, so we've gone back to a secondary, so the draft will not look as high-tech and professional as you're used to, but it is still the same champions on each side of the board. We've got Ash, Braum, and Jarvan banned away by the Shadow Cows, and Kaisa, Master Yi, and Mordekaiser banned away by Oizys.
Master Yi is kind of a strange one to me. That definitely is a preferential pick, I have to imagine, from TSC. But yeah, we talked about the 80 carries and the importance of you know, getting them their comforts, and right out of the gate we see why, right? We see the Jinx locked in for the Shadow Cows, and Crush Card, I imagine, is good on that one. And you know, Jinx is incredibly strong right now. Crit 80 carries are still very, very meta. And then there's other champions like Misfortune, right? Those big ultimates that can really change the course of a team fight. And I like Sejuani being paired up with it because it gives you that extra little bit of setup. It gives you that extra little bit of lockdown that Misfortune likes so much, because she lacks that actually innate lockdown in her kit. And I'm expecting more picks like that to come through as the draft progresses, just trying to make sure that you can wombo together your ultimates, or just set up the ultimates, as the Talia is also going to be picked on 3 here by Team Oizys.
Yeah, we're screaming through the pick ban here this time around. I do like the point about the crowd control setup for Misfortune. I was almost expecting there to be a support pickup here for Oizys. I was thinking something like a Leona, maybe even like an Amumu, harkening back to that old Curse of the Sad Bullet time that people love to play in the bottom side. Maybe a Rakan even, but opting for the mid laner instead here tells me that they do really have high priority on this Talia and are willing to eat a couple of support bans. Maybe the Oizys support has something in the back pocket, maybe even an enchanter of some kind that they can pair up with this Misfortune to really let them get screaming ahead in the 2v2s.
And I'm actually kind of surprised that the Shadow Cows let this Talia go through, because this is historically banned, I think, against Team Oizys, because Dreams really likes this pick. And Talia is a counter to Man's primary mid laner, which is that LeBlanc, right? We've seen him also get that for the past couple of weeks. And Talia is heavily favored in that matchup, just kind of being able to stop LB in her tracks. And yeah, that is going to be a Seraphine locked in. So that's most likely going to go down into the AD carry role, or the support role, I'm sorry, along with the Misfortune, unless they do support Misfortune or support Talia or something funky like that, but I highly doubt it. So yeah, Wombo combo setups with the ultimate is what it's looking like here for Team Oizys. Now, I think the Shadow Cows going to lock in the Victor. Not sure I agree with this, and also going to finish this up with the Ward. So 2 quick little locks for them to finish out their comp. I'm not really a big fan of this comp, because I feel like you're deathballing into a comp that wants to deathball. I figure something like a side lane threat could go really, really far in a game like this, and it seems like Oizys has that idea as well, locking in that Fiora. So they've got the deathball comp with 4, plus they've got the Fiora in the side lane, and I do think that they have a better draft coming out of this game, number one. It just feels like they have more dimensionality in their comp and also have more threats, whereas at the other side, I feel like the Shadow Cows are really relying on this Jinx getting an early lead and or making sure that this Victor can scale and not get punished, which of course is kind of wishful thinking given that you have a Sejuani who wants to get out on the map early.
Yeah, I would say Shadow Cows have a very quintessential scaling composition for themselves. Like you mentioned, that Jinx and Victor love to get to like 3 items plus in the late game, just start to accelerate towards their item spikes and get there as fast as possible. But you also have Maokai, who likes to have action early on the map, who likes to be that jungler who can, like, sometimes can just like do 1 camp, insta gank a lane, do 3 camps, gank a lane, do 3 more camps and gank a lane after that. He loves to just be abusing flash cooldowns, W cooldowns, whenever he can get on the map possible. And there's just a lot, like, I would say very minimal setup for the Shadow Cows for that. So I'm wondering how this Maokai is actually going to be able to navigate the early game, especially like the Sejuani, like you mentioned earlier, another champion that likes to get on the map. But this time you have a Seraphine to set up for it early. You have a Talia that can take advantage of it. And even Fiora, who doesn't have any CC of her own, activates that Sejuani passive faster on the Ornn, makes his life very difficult. I do agree. I think Oizys has a much more, I would say, winning draft in this scenario, but if the game does go past probably 30-35 minutes, I would say the Shadow Cows are probably going to be in a spot where they can find a win.
To think that the Shadow Cows have an advantage when it does come to things like objectives, right? Like setting up for objectives is basically what Maokai's bread and butter is, right? Being able to have those saplings in the bushes make it very difficult for you to walk into that river. On top of that, you've also got the Victor field, which can zone away anyone, and you've also got Renata's ult, right? You've got the smoke, if you want to call it that. And so there are plenty of tools that the Shadow Cows have in order to be able to control certain zones on the map, especially around those objectives, but they all really come into play later, like you said. So it is going to be up to the Shadow Cows to really reel it back in those early stages, make sure that they aren't getting too over aggressive, making sure that they aren't pushing up too far without vision, and just overall trying to get their picks to scale up. And hopefully around the 2 to 3 item mark, if the gold is relatively even and Oizys haven't taken too much of an advantage in gold or experience, then I think we have a much more even game on our hands. But it is going to be up to Oizys to pull that trigger early, to unlock that Sejuani as fast as possible, and to just get those objective balls rolling, I would imagine, as soon as possible, so that the Shadow Cows don't really have an opportunity to threaten any souls or any Herald takes when they don't necessarily, they necessarily should, right? This team definitely shouldn't be threatening turrets with plates.
Yeah, we'll have to see how Oizys and Shadow Cows look on the rest here for game number 1. But before we send you to a break, we're going to send you to a quick word from our sponsor tonight, Pro Comps. Take it away.
Quick shout out to ProComps, our sponsor and a game changer app for the league community. This isn't just like the other tools. It's your personal draft coach, perfect for both teams and solo players. In fact, you can pair it with any other app you use. ProComp stands out with features like custom champion pools, personalized tier lists, and live draft advice. Think of it as having a virtual coach and a strategy toolkit all in one. They offer real-time champion ban recommendations. They already have over 200,000 downloads and thousands of daily users just like you. ProComps is user-friendly and totally free. It is a no-brainer to at least give it a go. Download ProComps now, and you'll experience a whole new level of drafting power in your league games. Go to procomps.gg, download it from Overwolf, or click the panel below on our stream.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here for game number 1 between Team Shadow Cows and Team Oizys, something like that. We'll figure it out as the cast goes on. In the draft already coming off the back of this, we were, I would say, pretty 50-50 on what the win condition for both of these teams is going to be and whether or not either team came out with like an advantage. But I think we both agree that if the early game goes the way of Oizys, they're probably just taking the game.
I mean, that is to be expected, right? You've got more early game pressure, I would say, overall in the game, especially once you unlock those level 6s. In the bot lane, you've got the Encore, you've got the Bullet Time, you've also got the Weaver as well, so there's that cross-map play that is potentially, there for Dreams to utilize, and that'll be really good, I think, for Peach Jello in particular. You know, this Sejuani, a champion that wants to get active on the map early, wants to take those objectives as early as possible, and so having that wall that can constantly come to you is going to be something I think Oizys should really try to utilize when it's available. But until then, I'm hoping that they just kind of hunker down, just wait for their power or wait for their power curves to kind of kick in, as Sassafras will get spotted out, but we'll dash away like the pretty lady that Fiora is.
Yeah, that's the Fiora special. You do a little mini invade level 1. You just check out, see if you can't spot anything, and if you ever get in trouble, you just dip away real fast. You don't get into any sort of trouble. But I do want to point out early on here, it isn't a Doran shield like we usually expect to see out of the orange starting items. It is just the cloth armor plus refillable, which I think, in my mind at least, says like, hey, I'm going to be eating poke. I know I'm going to be building items in lane. I want to stay in here for as long as possible, get as much value as early on as I can.
Definitely a smart move, right? Because you have some gold left over, and you will be able to utilize that for building items in the lane, like you mentioned. So, Zeller predicting he'll be in the lane for a while, as Righteous going to take a large chunk of damage. Won't have to burn any summoners, but that is the power of this poke lane coming out from the Misfortune and the Seraphine. So you've got to respect that, and you know, maybe it will opt for maybe it will give Jungle Twitch a chance to come on down here now that the lane is slightly pushed in favor of Oizys.
Yeah, I think it's not the best start for the Team Shadow Cow bottom side, and I think Seraphine has been so good for so long now. She's gotten nerfs her way, and the meta has favored more towards engaged supports, but I really do feel like Seraphine is just one of the strongest champions in the game still. She's gotten some nerfs thrown her way, but the amount of utility that she provides in lane and in team fights is just unmatched in terms of all the other enchanters. She just does so much at all points in the game.
Yeah, and a little bit of trading in the mid lane as Dr. Shrouds and Dreams just trying to get at each other's throats, and could open up a potential mid lane gank for Peach Jello here, who is actually waiting in the wings on the top side. Did skip the Krugs, and
ooh, to get a forced flash out of Dr. Shrouds. Take a turret shot for the trouble, but trades flash for flash at the very least with that Victor. So definitely a target for a return gank if there's any sort of setup from Dreams available in the future.
Now Dr. Shrouds has to be really careful because he doesn't have that flash, like you mentioned. Victor, a champion that is immobile by heart.
Righteous. T1 Jello in a little bit of trouble, is going to be forced to trade flashes with Righteous as well. Takes a little poke. Hang on, Jungle Twitch doesn't want it done yet. Yomi getting caught out, staying a little bit too far forward. The Bear's going to keep them alive. The rocket almost kills T1 Jello, but still having that healing inventory means that they will be fine. Some messy fights across the map here as Zeller and Sassafras are trading. I don't actually know if Zeller wants this, but Sassafras, I can't get the final prockets. One more bellows breath. DJ Zeller will find a solo kill in the top side.
And there's action all across the map, but it's the top lane that spills first blood. Sassafras, I don't know if you win that. The gigantic wave in the top lane accumulating, just all those minions constantly hitting DJ Zeller as he's forced to flash. Peach Jello making his way toward the top side.
In a little bit of trouble here. Flash is just a little bit too late. A nice little flick back, but I think the one last Victor auto from Dr. Shroud should be able to find the kill. And it's blood across the map here, Quacks. You don't even have time to analyze.
Yeah, the Shadow Cows coming out big and coming up swinging in the early game, giving over the resources to the solo laners of this squad. Not necessarily where I would like to see the kills go, but hey, 2 kills is 2 kills, and it's a good opening here for the Shadow Cows, hoping to try and get their first series win in the AEL here. A good look to start out in game number 1. The question is, can they keep up that momentum all the gold from those kills now being spent. Objectives now spawning as we have hit 5 minutes. The dragon is up, and you can see Peach Jello is on the bot side of the map. Meanwhile, Jungle Twitch is on the top side. So if that is to be started up by Team Oizys, it probably isn't contestable by the side of the Shadow Cows. And yeah, for the most part, I am really interested just to see what they do with the gold and with the pressure that they have created getting those 2 kills.
Yeah, I do think this is a really bad spot for Team Oizys to be in, as Yellow going to look for a potential push onto Crush Card. Look at a stun onto the Jinx on the back half of that, but not much. But yeah, I don't think this is a really bad spot for Team Oizys to be in, because you're looking at the barrel of like, hey, this is a team that outscales us in the long term. We have Seraphine, but they also have Jinx Victor in the late game. And while we do have Fiora to be able to handle the Ornn and the side lane and to be kind of a nuisance, if it comes to 5v5s and we're not ahead at like 25, 30 minutes, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And being down in the early game, it's not a ton of gold, but 2 kills, a lot of lane pressure, some priority in your jungle. It's not great, as Crush Card is going to lose a lot of HP there on that trade.
But they do manage to clear the wave and catch Peach Jello taking this dragon, but I don't know if this is the fight they want. They're outnumbered.
Risky, but that Chaos Storm is going to do a lot of damage to Peach Jello. The one last kick should be able to pick up that kill. Righteous goes into that bailout, but it's T1 Jello finding that last hit on the hit, which means that now Dr. Shrouds, he's stuck in a 1v1 versus Dreams with no health left. Talia's happy to take that one all day. Now on the other side of the map, it is the response from Jungle Twitch. Nice little parry to not get out of that bind, actually. Call of the Force God goes wide, but it's a great pickup from DJ Zeller on the knockup to knock down Sassafras once again.
Zeller reading Sassafras like a book yet again. Another kill going over to the Ornn, and most importantly, those grubs were taken with no response by Team Oizys on the other side. Peach Jello not able to complete that dragon. We'll probably go back onto it now, given the amount of pressure they have around that bot side, but it's on a ward, so I'm actually curious to see if the Shadow Cows maybe have an interest in responding. It doesn't look like they do, so a late objective trade, but it is probably the Shadow Cows coming out on top nonetheless, being able to further those solo lanes in this game.
Yeah, now up just about 1k, a little bit less. And when you're looking at these lane states, Talia versus Victor, Fiora versus Ornn, these are not champions that should be behind in the early game. But now DJ Zeller has that Bramble Vest and Balmy Cinder on his side versus this Fiora, which means that wave control until she gets that team mat item is going to be in the hands of DJ Zeller. The sustained battle probably in the Ornn's favor as well, even with that Vampiric Scepter, because you're just going to run out of mana before you actually are able to poke this Ornn out of lane. It's a rough spot to be in for Team Oizys, and they need something that's going to bail them out soon.
And it's even worse for Sassafras. You can see this gigantic wave pushing into DJ Zeller, forcing Sassafras to kind of play up when he doesn't want to, doesn't have the flash available. But speaking of playing up, that's what TSC are doing.
Does have that Glacial Prism. They're going to get a lockup onto Righteous. No heal available for Righteous anymore. Still holding onto that flash, is going to be able to finally use it. Now Dreams trying to get the chase down on to Crush Card, who already lost that flash, but just not enough damage to finish off the AD carry. A little bit split from Team Oizys. Dreams chasing down the other member instead of stopping the rogue support, which means that everybody for Team Shadow Cows actually manages to escape that trade.
And it does give a play actually over to Dr. Shrouds.
Grand challenge on the top side. Sassafras trying to get some more damage in, but DJ Zeller can just walk away. This is the power of Ornn. When he starts to get ahead, you just don't deal enough damage to the guy to knock him out.
Yeah, that's an ult expended, and now DJ Zeller on the other side is going for the trades. The Ornn dealing massive amounts of damage. Those grass procs coming up big, coming in clutch. Peach Jello making his way up toward the top side, though. Doesn't have ult, but does have flash.
All of the forward god. A nice dash out from Sassafras, so not going to get caught by it. But now DJ Zeller stuck in kind of an awkward spot. No ulti available for the Ornn. He's going to get the dash away, but immediately gets into that Winter's Bite from Peach Jello. It's immediately going to get flashed out, though, so DJ Zeller able to get out of there, loses his Underspell, but will manage to keep his life.
And does have the TP available as well, so will be able to get back to lane with no difficulty. Peach Jello, though, does have some top camps up, and it is also the grub spawning in a little less than a minute. You can see the resets are being channeled by both Jungle Twitch and Dream, so they're getting ready for a potential fight up there in the top side. So far, though, no move from the support, so we might just see a potential 3v3 or maybe even 2v2 battle coming out here for the grubs. In the case of Oizys, though, you want to make sure that you can get this just Fiora those grubs so that that split push threat is online later in the game, and maybe just try and give Sassafras a few more plates back in case the wave does shove up toward that blue side tower. So it's important for Oizys to get this. TSC, though, want to make sure they can get all 6 because that always feels nice, right?
Yeah, getting those 6 grubs. I think at the very least getting 4 so you can have a Void Might spawn and you can get that extra bit of tower pressure. Very, very important. But I think the most important part is keeping as many grubs as possible away from this Fiora. Getting the first 3 is already great because you know you're going to be denying 4 at minimum. Fantastic spot for you. You don't have to deal with the Fiora with those extra Void Mights. Peach Jello looking for engage. There's the Encores onto 2. Crush Card is untouched, but Jungle Twitch is already down to half HP. They're going to get the damage down to Yomi. It's a great handshake. It is on takeover, right? Just putting all the work in, but at the very least it'll trade 2 for 1. They'll get the jungler back, but Oizys still come out ahead on the bottom side.
Oizys managed to get an exchange on the bot side of the map, and they just did not kind of register that Dreams could be on the roam. The Talia comes up big, manages to turn the fight on its head, and now maybe Dreams is in trouble, doesn't have the flash.
Stuck in a 2v1 is going to force Jungle Twitch away, but this Chaos Storm is going to do just enough damage with that Death Laser between Stocks and Shrouds. Will find their 3rd kill of the game on this late game monster Victor. Now if I'm Team Oizys, I'm starting to sweat a little bit at the carries getting all this money.
For sure, DJ Zeller and Dr. Shrouds. You know, we were talking about how important it was that the bot lane be the big carries for the Shadowcats and Team Oizys, but so far, it's been the solo laners. In the case of Team Shadow Cows, they've been coming up really big. Dr. Shrouds in particular, really good reads on all of the plays that have happened to him. The ganks coming out from Peach Jello, like we just saw one there.
Oh, another one into the mid lane. Dr. Shrouds is in trouble, but Righteous and Jungle Twitch are behind it, which means Peach Jello is now the one in danger. Inside that gravity well is going to be able to walk away thanks to those Mercury treads, but one last take for the Death Laser doesn't manage to find it, but in the meantime on the top side, Sassy Frass and DJ Zeller trade 1 for 1. Dreams does finally manage to find the last hit there onto Jungle Twitch, and it's a turnaround from Team Oizys into the mid lane 3v2. I counted them out. I said they were sweating, but they're feeling okay.
They managed to get more gold back into their pockets, and they're not done yet.
What a flick back from Dreams. Can he find the last bit of damage onto Dr. Shrouds? That mini wave is not doing him any favors, but Peach Jello is here. They're going to net the shutdown gold over to Dreams, and Oizys continue to strike back.
Oizys. Ooh, but the rocket!
What a shot from Crush Card!
Click, click, boom, Crush Card crushing the hopes of Dreams as he will go down. Won't be able to get any more plates or any more advantages on the Talia, as now Oizys with the grubs and dragon both up are hoping to get themselves some objectives, as Peach Jello will be spotted out by DJ Zeller, and I think that opens up Twitch Jungle to move on toward this bot side, establish some saplings, establish some vision around this dragon, and make it so difficult for Oizys to respond as they are trying to do now.
Yeah, Jungle Twitch is spotted out, like he said, on that bit of vision. There's still vision available for Team Shadow Cows, so they will know that the enemy team is starting to walk through, but Righteous face checking into Peach Jello, just trying to keep them out of the pit. DJ Zeller has walked down here. That teleport pretty soon to be up. Now the engage is going to come through, but it's a steal through from Peach Jello to find that last hit. Now the fight's going to begin in earnest. DJ Zeller, the one in trouble on this front line, taking a lot of damage, and so is Peach Jello, who's going to be first to fall. Can Crush Card start to get a reset? There's one kill, and the Jake's going to start to get excited, but it's 1 for 1 already, as it's a great blink back from Dreams to shut them down. It's a double kill for the Talia in the mid lane. It's a double kill for Yomi, and it's a huge fight for Oizys.
And we're starting to see just what. Oh, hang on, we're not done.
Up here on the top side, that grand challenge onto Dr. Shrouds. He wants to find one more proc to get that final, but Dr. Shrouds shuts him down with a Death Laser to the face.
And it is going to get us into applause just as it was getting exciting. We get hit with a pause, ladies and gentlemen, so that'll bring you back to our beautiful faces here. But what a turnaround coming out from Team Oizys. It was looking like a really rough early game for the Shadow Cows, constantly getting advantage after advantage. In particular, it was Jungle Twitch being really active around the map and really owning those objectives. But in recent minutes, we had the steal from Peach Jello. We had the beautiful flick back from Dreams in particular. This is why you banned Dreams, is to Talia. By the way, this has been pick or ban against this guy, and we just had an example of why, man. You can put him down in the laning phase, you can camp him all day long, but the moment you have an exchange, the moment you got to freestyle and clutch up, Dreams is right there with you, right there, ready to put a rock directly into your face.
Yeah, and it's having that kind of influence before you even finish your first item is such a huge showing from this mid laner here for Team Oizys. That Archangel's not even fully stacked yet, still sitting on that last little tick of mana waiting to be upgraded. It's really nice to see them have this sort of influence before the item's completed, because now as they start to get more items, as they start to get these Darksteel stacks, you're going to be seeing that damage start to skyrocket. And if they can continue to play this well, they can put the team on their back and say, don't worry, fellas, this one's all on me.
For sure. I mean, as Talia scales, you do have more damage coming to you, right? Talia is a champion that, when fed, can one-shot your backline. And I'm looking at the Jinx. I'm looking at the Renata, and I'm saying, that's breakfast for a fed Talia. So definitely does put a lot of emphasis now on this mid lane, which is the big focus of both of these teams now, kind of gearing up and setting up around this Herald, which is the focal point that both of these teams want to focus on, and something that I don't think they're willing to give up. You can see the top lane wave kind of pushing in favor of Oizys, giving Sassafras a potential few seconds to roam on down there, maybe make an impact. We'll spot them out on Vision. Both TPs available for the mid laners as well, so there is potential for a big fight here, and so far Oizys have managed to win out on all of these recent fights.
Yeah, Sassafras still trading with DJ Zeller up here, but I'm not sure it's exactly the way that he wants to go. Righteous is going to burn that hostile takeover. Just picks up one onto Jello, who is happy to just walk away from it. The Encore also not finding a lot of value. Just a lot of whiffed ultis into that particular exchange. Looking like a Fnatic game from a couple of weeks back, as Dreams is going to be forced away by that Chaos Storm. Look, I have to take every opportunity I get to throw it at EU.
I mean, we're NA casters. They threw it at us for years, and the 1 year we're objectively doing better than them. Come on, you got to give us that, right?
We gotta be able to take it.
Yeah. As the Shadow Cows now with an ult advantage, curiously enough. 3 ultimates were expended by Team Oizys in order to try and get a pick, and they didn't manage to get a darn thing. So I'm actually kind of questioning why the Shadow Cows aren't going for this Herald when they've got the Super Mega Death Rocket, when they've got the Bramble's Wrath, or the Nature's Wrath, and all of these tools to be able to one-up Oizys in a fight. As now Oizys, they've cleared out the mid lane, and they've made their way up toward the top side.
Yeah, it was an interesting stat if you were looking at the Stormwatch earlier today. I was reading up the predictions that Storm had for this particular series, and something that he mentioned was that both these teams do not have high objective control in general, as Sassafras gets a nice little parry there, now has that Ravenous Hydra, so, you know, even with the anti-heal, you are still going to stay at full HP no matter any of the trades. But yeah, these teams struggle a lot with objective control in general. I think the stat for both these teams was not a single Herald for either of them. About 1.5 dragons of a game for each team. It's not their strength at the very least. So we're seeing at the very least Oizys come up a little bit in terms of these objectives. They don't get those first 3 grubs, but they get the dragons. They're now getting the Herald, and they're starting to press their advantage even further.
And they also got 3 turrets. We're not even 20 minutes into the game, and they've already broken every tier 1 on the Shadow Cows side. So that'll allow them to play a lot more aggressively, allow them to utilize some of those more cross-map plays that some of their champions like to go for, like the Talia's Weaver's Wall, right? Will make it a lot more difficult for the Shadow Cows to get a pick, to get some of that vision they want to go for without potentially being punished, as now the resets came in from Oizys, so the Shadow Cows have made their way toward the bot side river, but it's just going to be a matter of can they hold it or not. It doesn't look like that as Peach Jello's onto Righteous.
Does get handshaked in. I don't know if it's a spot Peach Jello wants to be in. They're going to be forced to walk away as DJ Zeller is also teleporting through. But this means that Sassafras is going to be free to just take some towers on the top side. As that Call of the Forge God goes absolutely nowhere. No vision available for the Shadow Cows meant that they just didn't know where the other 2 squishier members of Oizys was. But now DJ Zeller not done just yet. It's a great hostile takeover to keep Peach Jello and Dreams unavailable. The bullet time is spent on the front line of the fight. Yo, I don't know if you want to be there. Shutdown is going to go over to Righteous. And now Team Shadow Cows are going to start to open up a little bit more. They're going to get the knock down onto Peach Jello. This is about to be forced to flash away. Righteous wants to keep this one going, though. Gets a stun on the handshake into Dreams. Dr. Shroud teleports in, but he doesn't get The last hit, Righteous with a red buff, manages to find the kill on that one. But in the meantime, look at the top side of your screen, Sassy Fraz is just happily split pushing away.
And somehow from whiffing 2 ultimates in a row, the Shadow Cows come out on top and they'll reap the rewards as they'll get their first dragon of the game. And I have to think that Oizys didn't need to go for that play. You had a Fiora in the top side slowly pushing. This would have only been the first dragon going toward the Shadow Cows. The objective wasn't really worth the potential loss you could have taken from having you lose all of your members, which they do at the end of the day. They lose so many teammates. They lose the dragon as well. The only thing they gained from it was a top turret, and that was almost guaranteed either way.
Yeah, I will say in terms of the shutdowns that went over, the kills going over to Righteous is not the best for Team Shadow Cows. I say that, but Righteous continuing to make these incredible plays for the squad. The Nature's Madness is defined. Yomi, get that Bramble Smash in there, knock that 80 carry down. Peach Yellow gets the Herald Charge in, but now has to try and navigate their way out with no flash in the face of all 4 of these CC heavy members. One more auto comes through for Crush Card, and they're going to be able to find that last hit. Team Yellow forced to walk away, and Oizys is kind of falling apart at the seams here. They had a consistent lead, but now 2 fights in a row, 2 lost objectives, and now losing this mid lane turret. It's not looking great.
And it is also kind of a case of what else can you take if you are the Sphere. You've taken all of the top lane turrets that are outside of the base of the Shadow Cow. So this split pushing playstyle that you've been kind of relying on the entire game isn't as effective and can be answered much easier by the side of the Shadow Cows. As we have
Shadow Cows,
another pause coming in here for game number 1. Yeah, I like how you put it, Brittany. The Shadow Cows coming up big somehow. Yet again, Team Oizys kind of falling apart after they got a concrete lead. And I just kind of feel like it came from the indecision at that dragon. You didn't need to go for that fight. You had a free amount of gold that you could have gotten from that top lane. And then you could have worried about the dragons later. But they go for the fight despite the numbers disadvantage, despite the power disadvantage of not having key members there for that exchange. And now the gold lead has swung in the Shadow Cows' favor out of basically nowhere.
Yeah, I think it's just a couple of big misplays there from Team Oizys. We didn't get to mention that the last call to the pause was Crush Card needing to restart their 80 carry, and now it seems that Jungle Twitch is having a particular issue. At one point did we call like, hey, Oizys, are you guys DDoSing? Is this some sort of like hacks? Are you just messing with the PCs of the enemy team? Obviously, that's jokes. These are not true allegations. I'm not trying to catch a case in any regard, but you know, it's just for fun here on the broadcast as we're getting pretty much quickly right back into game. And again, like you mentioned, the gold lead not exactly swinging back into the favor of Team Shadow Cows, but the gold lead closing up when it was at a point where it started exploding for Oizys. It's a lot of lost value for them.
Especially kind of at this moment in the game, right? Oizys had the momentum necessary to go and threaten that soul point. If they simply gave up that dragon, I have a feeling they could have easily gone for that 3rd dragon once Sassafras was ready, once this Fiora was all juiced up and ready to go, ready to 1v5 like a Chinese TikTok LPL Fiora would. But now it kind of feels like the Shadow Cows have this new influx of gold, this new influx of power that Oizys are going to have to brute force their way through. And against a Jinx, against a Victor, these scaling champions, I don't know if you can brute force your way through that.
Yeah, I will say still, ever since I think the crit item changes in general, Jinx, despite all of her strengths, I think has been in a rough time in terms of build paths. She's a champion who loves to have attack speed in her kit, who loves to have Runans alongside things like Kraken Slayer, like LDR in her inventory before she really starts to explode in fights, but picking up all these items before you get an IE, before you get any AD in your inventory, if you want a Bloodthirster at all for any sort of sustain, it just feels really rough for her. As I'm going to put that on pause for a second. Sassafras is maybe caught out of position here. They're going to use that Nature's Madness, but Sassafras just hops quickly over the wall thanks to Peach Jello and is just able to get out of there. But yeah, I think Jinx has been in a rough spot in terms of build paths, and you can see it here. Kraken Slayer, great first item, but having to move into Runans as it's a flick back from Dreams. They're going to be able to pick up Jungle Twitch here off of that takeover from Righteous. A nice little advance there from Team Shadow Cows, but it's immediately slapped back by Oizys as that 2 picks for the red side, and now they're just going to turn it immediately to the Baron.
Yeah, Oizys managing to get 2 kills under their belt, and it kind of felt like an overextension from the top side of the Shadow Cows. The rocket going to come up, not going to be able to steal that objective at the end of the day, just going to deal some damage to the side of Team Oizys. And as soon as they lost potentially the gold lead that they had worked so hard to get, they snatch it right back up. They take the opportunity to get a couple of picks. They reap the rewards with a Baron, and now with all 5 members strong, with the Fiora, with Baron, and now 2 items, it's looking like the online carry, it's looking like the late game carries of Team Oizys have officially come online.
Yeah, it's a much better spot for them in build paths. It's a much better spot for them in terms of power spikes. You can see Dreams here on this Talia sitting on 2.5 items. And while Dr. Shrouds is also sitting on 2.5 items, I feel like the Talia is just having more influence in these fights. Those Chaos Storms are just not doing enough damage to those squishies. It's not having enough power to one-shot those backliners. And it's the double burn build, so you do great damage to tanks. Like if it's Peach Jello on that front line there. Again, Dreams finds these flicks, these seismic shoves that just make Team Shadow Cow's lives absolute hell.
And they're not done yet. Jungle Twitch is the next focus.
Oh, the flick back. Nice little disengage there from DJ Zeller. We're going to force a flash out of Jungle Twitch, though, thanks to that bullet time from Yomi. And this is Team Oizys just continuing to pressure with their Baron buff. They're transitioning from one lane to another. They're trying to find advantages on these minion waves. They're out deathballing what we called the deathball composition for TSC.
It doesn't even really feel like a death ball. It just kind of feels like TSC are getting picked off one by Dreams. Not just Dreams, but you also have Peach Jello. You also have Jello himself. There's a lot of Jello in this one. I don't think Cloudy with Meatballs would be a big fan of this, but for the most part, yeah, these pick tools becoming a big commodity. Is that
challenge from Sassy Fresh? That's just a solo kill for the Fiora on the top side. No matter how far behind she gets, you cannot disrespect this champion. Dreams is forced to flash away due to that charge from Zeller, and now the redemption coming down to try and keep the sustain of the hostile takeover is dodged out for the most part by the members of Team Oizys. Yogi still free hitting, but look at Crush Card. Keep your eyes on this Jinx. All she needs is one reset to open up the fight, but there's just no opportunities. The Seraphine sustain is just too damn much. Look at these shields and the heals. The team's just at full health, despite the fight being almost over. The seismic shove from Dreams shuts down Righteous, and Oizys continue to open up the map.
And Sassy Frass, I don't know if the TP was necessary from the Fiora, but he wanted to pose for the team photo. He wanted to be there when they got the game-winning fight. And I think that's just what we're seeing now, a game-winning fight to end us game number 1. Team Oizys, they're pushing down, going to take that inhibitor, not going to push their luck further, not going to look for another team fight. But it kind of feels like game number 1, Brady, is broken beyond all repair. The Death Ball Dream has come alive. Dreams has made it happen with his famed Talia, and the Shadow Cows can only watch and moo as the opposition is just charging down in their base over and over.
Turning them into hamburgers on repeat. It's just not a great spot for Team Shadow Cows to be in. I have to wonder what a Shadow Burger would taste like. Do you think it would be like, you know, the same consistency as a normal burger, or do you think it'd be a lot more like, I don't know, how do you taste a Shadow?
Dry, like really dry.
Yeah, because I don't know, I feel like it could be wet because shadows are the absence of light, as Sassy Frass may have found Dr. Shrouds up here in the top side again. Another great parry away from that gravity well, and we're seeing just a lack of squishy damage from the Victor. Nothing doing even with anti-heal. Crush Guard is going to be able to survive that bottom side exchange with a sliver of HP, but it's again Dreams coming up big on this Talia. The base continues to be opened up by Shadow Cows, and like I said, they're being turned into Shadow Burgers here in game number 1.
And it is a 4-1 Dream. We talked about the Fiora split push. We talked about the Death Ball comp with just these 4 members. And Team Oizys, they are playing it pixel perfect. They get the inhibitor in mid lane. They're going to constrict the rest of the members of Team Shadow Cows out of this top lane, make it so they can't defend this 3rd inhibitor. That's 3 going down in Team Shadow Cows base. And with all the minions pouring in, it's looking like Call of Duty zombies here. The Shadow Cows have to mount a last defense.
A seismic shove. Dreams again finds the bottom lane of Team Shadow Cows, and they are knocked down. It's a double kill for Yomi. Dr. Shrouds is going to get a trade back at the very least. wasted to Sassafras, but it's just not enough. He finds 2 with Peach Jello as well, now trying to mount the base defense. Basically 1 versus 3 with Jungle Twitch's health looking like that. Dr. Shrouds, though, getting slowed up, has to be careful. You are the last remaining hope for your team. Jungle Twitch is going to do their best. They're going to try and keep a little bit of wave clear, but you're Victor. You got to be the wave clear. You got to be the damage here. You got to find some way to keep this last Nexus turret alive, but you have to go back to your base turret at some point for health. That Nexus turret is going to go down. All the roots come through from that Nature's Madness. Just can't walk fast enough. Inhibs are coming up, but the last inhibitor was taken so soon. It's Shutdown going over to Dr. Shrouds. Hey, I may have written them out a little bit too soon. Dreams now the next one to get caught. Shutdown going over to Crush Card. The Nexus is open, but Shadow Cows staying alive.
They managed to get a win at the very last second, but everything is down. It's 3 inhibitors going over to the side of Team Oizys. The Baron spawning in about 30 seconds here. So the moment all of the dead members of Team Oizys respawn, I have to imagine they're going to beeline it straight to the big purple worm. The Shadow Cows, they just have to clean house. They have to play base defense. This is Call of Duty Zombies, Britty, at this point. Just make sure that you can protect your Nexus and don't let the minions touch it at all. It's like that last scene in Age of Ultron. And it's certainly looking like Doomsday is upon us for Team Shadow Cows as Team Oizys 8k gold ahead, but just so monumentally ahead in damage for the most part. This Talia, this Fiora, the late game threats, the solo laners, the players that we didn't have our eyes on, they're catching all the eyes here in game number 1.
Yeah, some great showings, I think, from Sassafras and from Dreams. Sassafras, a little bit rough in the laning phase, I will say. I think struggling versus the Ornn in the laning phase is not where you want your Fiora to be, but, you know, made up for the late game. Found a lot of side lane picks, a lot of side lane pressure, making life difficult there for the Shadow Cows. But in the meantime, on the bottom side of your screen, just looking at the items here for the 80 carries, Crush Guard is going to finally complete that Infinity Edge, but Yomi already has that extra BF sword in inventory, and that's not a Phantom Dancer, that's a Lord Dominic's Regard. So Jungle Twitch, DJ Zeller, they're just not going to be tanky enough to handle this misfortune onto the front line. The Soul's going to go over to Team Oizys, but I don't think it's going to do very much for them aside from just deny any extra possible value for Team Shadow Cows, as at some point soon they should just look to barrel down to an open Nexus.
They're looking to play it smart. They are not going to nay around. All you can see the top wave coming in, the mid wave delivered by all the members of Team Oizys. The Shadow Cows, they've got to go for a last hurrah, a last defense.
It's another push from Dreams to put Jungle Twitch in, and the Leandry's Maokai is just so damn squishy onto this front line. Sassafras says, I don't care about any kills, I don't want any glory, I just want the game. Team Oizys will take game 1.
And a pretty convincing win there by Team Oizys. It was looking a little bit back and forth in the early to mid game, but once the Talia came online, once the Talia was allowed to roam, I think was really kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And man, Dreams on that Talia was absolutely flawless. Sassafras as well, like you said, a little bit of a rough laning phase, but once you get some items under your belt, once the Fiora of your dreams or your nightmares, if you're Team Shadow Cows, starts to come online, then there really is no hope. You have to send so many members to deal with that, and unfortunately, the Shadow Cows had no meat to spare. So at the end of the day, Team Oizys, they take the win. They constrict the Shadow Cows kind of out of any lead that they had, and yeah, just a pretty solid late game will end us off in game number 1 with a win for Team Oizys.
Yeah, and it's what we talked about in the draft as well. Team Shadow Cows, they had a lot of good opportunities to strike back. They were making great punishes on the members of Team Oizys in the early game, but the problem was you don't have champions that can really take advantage of those early leads. You have champions that want to scale the lane, your Victors, your Jinxes, your Ornns. And when they get a lead in lane, yeah, it's great, but they don't have a way to sustain that lead, to snowball it into anything further. They're just like, hey, you're behind and it's 5 minutes, haha, I'm winning the game now. But if you let the other team start to slip back in, if you give them advantages that they can start to pick up on, if you lose that momentum, if you lose that lead, suddenly you're looking at, hey, it's 20 minutes, we just lost Baron, we're down 5k gold, what the hell happened?
I mean, I agree with you, right? Because we did see some seeds be planted there by the Shadow Cows. In particular, like you said, Dr. Shrouds and DJ Zeller came out really hard and really tough in the laning phase. That Victor could have really grown into a menace, but there really was no plays to be had by the Shadow Cows that tried to amplify the power of the Victor anymore. It just went into the side lane, got beat out by Sassafras over and over and over again, and then lost its lead while also giving the Fiora a lead to gain. So you kind of went for the double whammy there by the Shadow Cows. You went for a gamble and you lost twice, I would say. And yeah, I mean, luckily in the series, they only lost once. They have a chance for redemption in game number 2, but just based off of what I saw, Team Oizys with a pretty convincing late game. If they can just clean up that early game, then we might have our third 2-0 in a row, Brittany, here on the AEL. And boy, wouldn't that be a little bit boring in my opinion?
It would be a little bit disappointing. I would love to see Team Shadow Cow strike back here in game number 2, but we are going to take a short break before we figure out if it is going to be another 2-0 week or if it is going to be Team Shadow Cows looking for their opportunity back into the series. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more AEL action. Welcome back, everybody. We are here for game number 2 between Team Oizys and Team Shadow Cows. We're jumping straight into the draft. If you missed the last game, Team Oizys had a rough early game. It was a pretty back and forth one, but then after about 20 minutes, they just sort of said, hey, we're the better team. We've got a better draft. We're just going to win the game. And then they did.
And a lot of that was in part due to the Taliyah, which we are now seeing banned away here. The Shadow Cows do not want to give Dreams that one over. There's a reason that this has been pick or ban from this guy basically all season long so far. I know we are only 3 weeks into it, but it just kind of emphasizes how good this guy is on this Taliyah. We finally get to see it picked, and we understand now why it is pick or ban. So that's going to be locked in game number 2, along with the Master Yi, Mordekaiser, Kaisa, Azir, and then to be determined on the last ban. I have to imagine that they give us something other than a mid lane ban, probably something targeted toward that AD carry position in particular, because now the Shadow Cows are on that red side. So Team Oizys are going to have the opportunity to first pick maybe some of those stronger AD carry champions. Now, we did see a shift in the meta here because we are on the new patch, so we don't have our Tristanas, we don't have our Corkis, our AP junglers are a little bit out of style, and it's looking like we don't know what that third ban is quite yet.
I'm assuming it's the Jinx that got hovered, because the draft site that we're using currently, it is very, very stringent. When that hits 0, it hits 0, unlike the League client and other sites where it's like, it hits 0, oh no, it's okay, we'll give you 5 extra seconds, you can decide what you want. No, ProDraft just says, no, you missed your ban. Go away. Yeah. But no, it is going to be the Jinx ban for Team Shadow Cows there, which means that it's the Ashe first pick for Team Oizys. And I think it's a little surprising to see Team Shadow Cows shift up their draft strategy this much on the red side, as opposed to game 1 where they were banning away Ashe, Braum, Jarvan. Now it's entirely comfort-focused bans, the Taliyah, Azir away from Dreams, and that Jinx away from their AD carry, denying that pick on the first round. But for Team Shadow Cows, I know you mentioned that the meta was moving away from those AP junglers, but I'm looking at a Zyra currently.
I'm thinking that could actually be Zyra's support. I don't know. I just kind of feel like we've seen a startling lack of Zyra in the jungle. It feels like usually if you want that AP threat here in the AEL, you are more, positioned to go something like the Maokai, which we saw in game number 1, or maybe even the Brand if you're feeling a little bit spicy. I feel like Zyra really has not been, the spice of the week here in the AEL. So I would expect that to be in the bot lane. As like you mentioned, full Freljord comp. This is not TFT, but like Team Oizys are interested in maybe making it to a new set here, as we do have the Ashe, Sejuani, and the Braum. So all of those bans we saw in game number 1 now picked up here by Team Oizys. So that adaptation that you mentioned from the Shadow Cows, what they're giving up is now being fully picked up here by Team Oizys, as the Shadow Cows going to lock in that Blitzcrank. So it is actually going to be Zyra in the jungle, or maybe in the mid lane, I don't know, probably in the jungle. So Draven, Blitzcrank, certainly a very aggressive lane, and I have to think that that is just to give the Zyra time to full clear, and in these solo lanes you're really going to prioritize something that also fits that niche and gives the Zyra the necessary priority she needs in order to be safe in those early levels.
Yeah, I'm looking at this bottom lane matchup, and I'm seeing extreme volatility for both sides. If that Blitzcrank misses a hook, it's going to be a re-engage for Braum Ashe that you just cannot walk away from. Ashe lands one auto on you, Braum gets a guaranteed follow-up auto afterwards, and then you're just done. But if Blitzcrank manages to land the hook onto Ashe and not onto the Braum, Draven's going to get a free kill, and there's not a lot that Braum can really do about that, unless he can jump in the way with the Unbreakable. But we're going to be seeing a lot of fighting down here, so I'm expecting that we're going to be seeing a lot of attention, though. I will say, we said that in game number 1, and most of the fighting ended up happening in those solo lanes on the top side of the map, so we'll have to see if that does change here for game number 2, as we're now moving into the second phase of the bans, really, really targeting down these mid lane pools, the Corki, the Syndra, and the Victor. That was actually pretty successful, I think, for Dr. Shrouds in that game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, the Victor we saw, it was good for Dr. Shrouds, but they just kind of failed to facilitate it toward any phase that wasn't the early game. Dr. Shrouds was really good at reading and reacting to plays and reaping the rewards of Team Oizys overextending, but as soon as they grouped up, as soon as that overextension became more than just one person, the Victor kind of fell flat, and then you put it in a side lane, and the Fiora just solo kills it over and over. As yeah, this is kind of what I was going to mention or predict that the Shadow Cows might go for. The Renekton going to be the lock-in here. So those early aggressive lane bullies to give the Zyra the space to farm, and also make sure that you can put your pressure on your opponent, as it is going to be the Ornn. So the Ram versus the Croc.
Are we still keeping the full Freljord? If I see like a Lissandra or an Anivia, I know what Team Oizys' plan is, and surely there's no way we see it's gonna be the way we're gonna take it away from the full team-wide synergy. But truthfully, I don't think even with the Draven and the Zyra that you can take pretty good advantage of, you can realistically blind pick the Lissandra in this kind of matchup, and I'm not sure if Dreams has an Anivia in his back pocket.
I mean, yeah, there are certainly options for your mid lane Freljord champions, but at the end of the day, I like the Hwei. I think it's a good blind, and it's especially good against champions like the Akshan, who I would say this matchup can go 50-50. Akshan is really just going to try and get in the face of the Hwei, but I think it's going to be up to the Hwei to hold those spells defensively, make sure that those defensive combos are also always up and available for you to use should you get engaged on, or should you get ganked. So this is what I was kind of expecting to see from the Shadow Cows. I really like this comp. This is a very early aggressive comp. This is also how the Shadow Cows like to play. Storm mentioned in their write-up of week number 2 in particular. The Shadow Cows love to fight, right? This is a team that loves to scrap, loves to brawl, and we saw that in game number 1, but it kind of fell apart toward those later stages. I certainly think that this comp has a better chance at being able to put up a fight in those later stages when you have champions like the Zyra, like the Draven, like even the Akshan. Even if it can get fed in the early game, there certainly is a lot of snowball potential on the Shadow Cows here in game number 2 that they didn't necessarily have in game number 1. So I think that this comp definitely playing to their style a lot better than what we've seen.
Yeah, moving more towards stylistic comfort rather than, hey, these are good champions in the meta, we're going to pick them up because we think they're just good in what is currently the meta. I think the Blitzcrank is a real coin flip that I'm a little worried about here, but you know, it's the AEL. Either it's going to land 20 hooks and win them the game, or it's going to land absolutely 0 and the game's going to be over. We're just going to have to see which one is which. We're going to cut through a short break here while we wait to get loaded onto some of this for game number 2 between Team Oizys and Team Shadow Cows. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Those cravens backstab me, deceive me. Never shall I tolerate their crimes again. Now let the hunt begin. Yeah. 7,000 souls scared and daunted, such a tale of woe. Not too long ago, this village was a golden scene of hope. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Yeah, bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer. Yeah. I am the light bringer. Now listen, fellow warriors, I ask you, should my campaign come to an end? There's way more to avenge. Whoa! 50 million souls living in this realm without much hope. Not too long ago, this kingdom was a golden state of hope. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Yeah, bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer. Call down the reckoning, bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here for game number 2 between Oizys and Team Shadow Cows. I'm still Bo3, that's still Quacks, and Righteous does not have any items.
Uh-oh, looks like a little bit of an oopsie coming out from the Blitzcrank as the Shadow Cows looking for an aggressive level 1, and you can even see on the other side, Team Oizys also maybe anticipating a aggressive play in the bot lane, putting down that ward there in case they decide to come, but there will be no one knocking at the front door of the bot side of Team Oizys. Instead, you're gonna have to look to the top side as the Shadow Cows will also not see anyone there, but are probably going to get some information, I have to imagine, on this side of the map. Just try and track where this Sejuani is starting, as it is important to track Sejuani in particular because this is a jungler that likes to get out on the map early.
I wonder if this is just going to be a stay and steal here for Jungle Twitch. I wonder if Sassy Fries will even think about coming to check this particular buff. They're thinking about it right now. They've got a ward in inventory, so they could look for it. We see Peach Jello here, so we could have a veritable little 3v3 here. There's some pings on potential vision that is available for Oizys chips in the night pass each other away, and there's nobody who spots anything here. Jungle Twitch knows that Sassafras walked past, but I don't think is aware that Peach Jello has started up this wolf camp.
He doesn't know the wolves. Yeah.
Yeah. So now they're finally going to be able to spot out that Peach Jello is here, but the blue buff's already been gone. You can see Peach Jello start to realize, like, hey, my blue buff is gone. What the heck is happening? I thought my top laner walked past this, but you know, not checking that brush means that potentially your buff is just going away. Jungle Twitch is going to try and force that one away. Yeah, he just gets to walk out with the heist. I think he actually managed to, he didn't manage to get the crop. It looks like Peach Jello did manage to get the last tip on that one, but man, what a start here for Jungle Twitch.
Yeah, and a really bad one at that, I feel. As Zyra, you want to make sure you can get as many full clears now as possible. Jungle Twitch rather, going to have to be forced to walk into his jungle at 2 minutes 30 without taking any of his camps. So it certainly will delay your respawns. It will delay your ability to get back on the map and take those level 2s. And that just opens up so much more timing availabilities for Peach Jello to potentially make a play on the map while you're busy power farming.
Yeah, I will say though, now the onus is on Peach Jello to try and find some sort of advantage while Jungle Twitch is still doing this first rotation of clear, because you didn't get your blue buff. You're not going to be able to clear through your camps as easily with that extra mana sustain. You're going to have to just clear up some camps and look for that gank opportunity as soon as possible, because like we said, Jungle Twitch is just going to be sitting on these camps for a little while. He's going to be happily farming away because he got like an extra camp off of you. So now, what can the Sejuani do while the Zyra is busy still clearing out these camps?
And the ping's coming up from the top side of the map. They're just going to check to make sure the red buff is not being taken. Dr. Shroud going to
flash forward from Peach Jello.
Ooh.
Not even burning the flash from Dr. Shroud. A nice little mental fortitude there to say, like, hey, weird flash you did, but I'm still playing Akshan. I'm just going to hook shot across the wall and be fine.
Yeah, that was an overambitious play coming out there from Peach Jello. He also did that in game number 1, but even then, he traded a flash in that early exchange down toward the mid lane. So no flash on Sejuani, no real advantage being gained with this extra timing that you were granted from that early play by Jungle Twitch that went awry. And so at the end of the day, this Zyra full clears without a problem in the world and is going to go unpunished.
Sassafras in the meantime taking pretty hefty trades versus DJ Zeller here, forcing the Renekton low, and this is similar to what we saw in game number 1, though I will say last time it was working out a little bit better for DJ Zeller, as they've already been forced to grab an early recall to get that extra longsword in their inventory. But now with the pretty fat wave to clear up, they should be fine to just collect this, get some extra XP under their belt, start to get ahead of the Ornn. I'm hoping that we start seeing for the Team Shadow Cows at the very least a little bit more domination out of this topside matchup, because again, just like game 1, Ornn should not be winning a laning phase. I know he's strong, guys, but it's still Ornn in the early game.
Especially against a Renekton too, right? This is a champion that is known for having a dominant early game and one that you cannot underestimate. But so far, Sassafras has actually been playing the waves really well. There was a giant stacked wave up toward the top side, and now it's only starting to thin out. The wave will be slow pushing into Sassafras's part of the map, and so I have to imagine Zeller will be able to channel his first recall after this, maybe get some items and potentially punish this Ornn. But yeah, in these early 5 minutes, this top lane, definitely not how I expected it to go.
Uh-oh, Dreams. I think you got to be a little bit more careful than that. It's the flash forward from right just to get the Glacial Augment, and then immediately force the flash out of Dreams. Burn the Ignite as well, but I think if you're a support, trading 2 summoners for 1 with the enemy mid lane is something you're pretty happy to do, regardless of the time of day.
And it's not even that. It's also honestly worse for Dreams at this point, because the wave is giant. It's pushing in toward Dr. Shroud. You don't have a flash, so this Akshan could potentially try to look to punish you. But instead, the attention won't be turned toward mid lane. Instead, it'll be turned on the Dragon, as the Zyra, once again, showing in earnest why she is the best champion to take those neutrals.
Yeah, stacking up those seeds and just clearing out camps and objectives and neutrals. It's just very frustrating to watch if you're an enemy jungler, because you gotta just kind of look at it and be like, well, if I go in to contest it, suddenly I'm facing like 5 different Zyra planes alongside Zyra and whatever friend she has nearby. So it feels like you don't have a chance in hell of winning that fight, as decent little trade up here on the top side. I do think Sassafras should be careful here, as it is the dominance for DJ Zeller. They're gonna get the knockup off that cool up. The damage unleashed from Sassafras as Orn means first blood for Orn again in the top side.
And the item advantage coming up big there. Zeller wasn't able to really get a reset off that necessary item advantage to be able to trade with that. Orn wasn't present, so as a result, like you said, Sassafras gonna literally clap back onto DJ Zeller and break this game open. First blood going over to the top laner of Team Oizys.
Now, I go into the hang on. I'm going to put that on pause as Jello gets hooked in. Still has that unbreakable on the Braum, so it's not feeling too bad. And now we're seeing that counter trade come through. Yomi can just get that slowdown, and Bustin is in trouble. It is Bustin back in the AD carry position here, so it is not Crush anymore. But yeah, for Orn, you got to beat him pre-level 6 because when he gets that triple brittle combo available, suddenly those fights are not as comfortable anymore. As that Call of the Forge got into the clap, does a little bit of damage as now DJ Zeller is really feeling the pain in this laning phase.
And it's going to get even worse as the defensive items are going to start to stack for Sassafras. So not only is he going to continue dealing that insane damage with the grass procs, but you are not going to be able to deal that much damage in return. So I feel like these exchanges are just going to get more and more one-sided. Really, the only hope I feel for this to turn around is either if Sassafras decides to overextend and maybe play his hand too much, and DJ Zeller is able to capitalize off of that, or if Jungle Twitch is able to visit this top lane and potentially relieve DJ Zeller of his troubles. And neither of those are seeming super likely at this point.
Yeah, it is kind of the advantage you have off that AP jungler because it means all this armor that Sassafras is building. Although it will be good later on into the game up against Bustin and up against Dr. Shrouds. In this early and mid game, when Jungle Twitch and Righteous are the ones who are more likely to be roaming up to you and making your life difficult, that extra armor isn't going to do diddly squat against the Zyra and the Blitzcrank here, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it really is only going to affect half of the comp that you're playing against. So I'm interested to see how that pans out in the late game. And
yeah,
so far, the Shadow Cows...
okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Shadow Cows so far are prepping for the late game at least better than Team Oizys. They've got a decent amount of scaling. They've got a good amount of pick potential. I think pick comps were what they got with their first and only win in the AEL. So I'm interested to see if they can repeat that success with this comp. And so far, you know, having a dragon under their belt, I think it's looking good for them in the late game.
Sassafras has to be a little careful. Taking up a few too many tower shots. Does have the Call of the Forge God available. Is going to get that knock of one, knock of number two, but the AoE from Dominus just slowly ticks away at Sassafras' health bar. Greeted for the Demolish Rock. Now on the bottom side of the map, Peach Jello looking for a punish on the Jungle Twitch. The Ash Arrow is going to land, but the Strangledoors are doing so much work. The Glacial Vision doesn't work. It's Mark! No, knock means Bustin's going to get a catch in on the Draven, and now Team Shadow Cows are going to start to move forward even further. Jungle Twitch finds that last hit off the planes that were still alive from that ulti. God, this champion is broken, and Team Shadow Cows coming up huge in the early game.
And what a save coming out there from Righteous, living up to his name, being the divine protector there for Jungle Twitch. It felt like they could have gotten a return kill for themselves after what happened in top lane. But the Blitzcrank says, no, not today. Does the funny thing. He knocks up the correct targets. He gets the hook. He even gives a kill over to Bustin to add insult to injury. So a great Blitzcrank moment there coming out from Righteous, and Team Shadow Cows on this bot side starting to scale up and get the resources where they need to be.
Dr. Shroud and Dreams trading in the mid lane here. The Spiral Despair from Dreams is available, but there's not a lot of follow-up afterwards as that Severing Bolt is going to miss. Now, Hell getting hooked on the bottom lane, but you know, that's a Braum getting hooked. He's not going to feel too bad. And I think if Dream lands that QQ, Dr. Shroud is in a lot more trouble, even with those Mercury treads. But shoulda, woulda, and coulda means that Dr. Shroud will survive that trade. And I think Oizys is still in a position where they can find wins and they can get advantages for themselves, but again, it's starting to fall away from them. It's starting to move away from them a little bit, and they just need to calm down a bit, find their advantages, and find the consistent plays that will net them wins. Like here on the top side, Sassafras just trading against DJ Zeller. There's no Call of the Forge God available. That Dominus is going to do some work. A nice little sidestep onto that Bellows Breath means that Zeller's got a lot of HP to play with. Sassafras flashes there at the end. I'm not sure they needed to, but again, better safe than sorry is usually the way you go in League of Legends.
And on the other side of the map, you can see Team Oizys are on the Dragon. They were first to the bot side of the map. I felt like Jungle Twitch maybe taking a bit of a late reset there, wasn't really able to react, but will be able to trade, at least on this top side, get some of those grubs. So now 3 apiece for each team as Peach Jello fails the Q and will not be able to execute on the gank. That's a feels bad moment for the jungler of Team Oizys.
Oh, that hurts. Busting does have cleanse available, so even if that Sejuani ult did go through onto the Draven, maybe there's, you know, an opportunity to burn a summoner spell. But I think after that, you're almost in trouble because of the Blitzcrank and Draven engage. But they're trying again. The Glacial Fissure is going to land this time. They're going to connect on the target that doesn't have the cleanse. They'll burn the cleanse off of Bustin anyway with a great arrow from Yomi, but it's Peach Jello finding the advantage on the back half of that.
And a little bit of an overextension there from the bot side of Team Shadow Cows.
I don't think you want this fight. I don't think you want this smoke, my friend. Clap one more auto, maybe one more afterwards, but hang on, I might have spoken too soon. As Easy's always got the slice, the dice. He's out of there. He manages to survive despite a slight error, but now we got to trade in the mid lane here. Dr. Shroud's maybe in trouble, but the Jungle Twitch is nearby, so they are just going to be forced to walk away. Low health bars across the board, but the only one to die is Righteous.
Only one trade at the end of the day, and Righteous now respawning, maybe looking for a play on the mid lane as Dr. Shrouds really looking to try and just get those trades onto Dreams.
Oh, do it, Righteous.
Oh, I don't think he has vision of the way, so he can't really walk around.
What you do there as a support is if you think the enemy laner is backing there, just drop a ward. It doesn't matter if you're actually going to go in there or not. If you just drop a ward, you literally scare the pants off the enemy mid laner. And speaking of being scared, hey, T1 Jello, you got to be a little bit more careful as those Stranglethorns are not going to find the knockup after the flash is burned from Jello. We got to trade him here on the top side, but I don't think it's going to net into any blood, especially now that Zeller has that Black Cleaver. I don't think Sassy Prats wants to continue that trade, especially after the Dominus gets popped. And you know what? Good cooldown trade there for Sassy Prats. W auto for a Dominus. I think you'll take that all day.
Jello potentially caught out yet again. Hook lands.
And Jello, I say on the wrong side of the map, but it's on his own side of the map. Is they're going to get another kill over to Bustin. Nice little fear there from Dreams into that spiraling despair. But Dr. Shrouds has tenacity. He's got the Mercury treads. He's so hard to knock down here. And Dreams just doesn't have the damage early on into the game. Another nice fear, but here comes the offense. The shielding from that safety is going to keep Dreams alive. But now Peach Jello is here. Ultimate not available. The Severing Bolt is going to keep the flash away from Dr. Shrouds. And he's again low health bars. This is Severing Bolt lands again, but with a minion nearby, he doesn't find its mark as Righteous doesn't manage to find that hook either. Everybody's so low, everybody's so close, but nobody dies.
Again, it feels like every member in this game living by the skin of their teeth, except for T1 Jello. The support's getting caught out, and the victims of a lot of the adventures of the opposing team. Yep, just trying to get some vision, and they get some vision, all right. Vision of 3 members who are now pounding them into the dirt. But for the most part, like you said, a lot of trades, but not a lot of kills, as I have to think that objectives need to be the focus here in this game now. We still have about a minute 30 on the next Dragon, but Herald is up, and I really want to see both of these teams prioritize that as a potential threat to net themselves that second Dragon. Spawn that as soon as the Dragon spawns, and really make the opposing team work for it and not be able to react.
Yeah, especially with Infernal Dragons is DJ's always gonna pop that Dominus, but he's on vision. Now he's gonna burn that slice of dice flash into the path of the Ram! Peach Jello's gonna find the last hit off a great ultimate from Sassy Praz.
And that is so unfortunate from DJ Zeller. He gets read by like a book by Sassy Praz. Burns the Dominus, burns the flash, so you won't have any resources in upcoming fights if you are the Renekton. And there's gonna be some fights in the coming minutes, right? We've got the Dragon spawning in less than a minute. You need to be there. Speaking of fights,
flashes over the wall. Dreams is flashing away, but it's right into the waiting arms of the Stranglethorns. Jungle Twitch finds the last hit and is keeping his influence up on the map.
Good play there coming out from Jungle Twitch, and now with the bot side being claimed by Team Shadow Cows, look at how much vision they have around that bot side of the map. It's going to be so difficult for Team Oizys to walk toward that objective, and I have to think they're just going to give it. They do have a Herald of their own, so they could place it, try to threaten the opposite side of the map, maybe even potentially unlock Sassafras, get that Ornn to roam by taking the turret. but it is most likely going to be this third dragon going the way of Team Shadow Cows, with just how much groundwork they've laid around the spot side and how many damn plants they have ready to pounce on this Drake.
Yeah, again, this is just what Zyra does best. She sets up 20 plants inside the pit, and look at that dragon disappear. Peach Yellow's trying to be nearby, trying to have some sort of influence onto the pit here, but he's just going to get denied. Still dashes into the pit, but the spike comes through from Jungle Twitch, so they are going to get that one. Now Peach Yellow forced to flash out, but it's into the waiting arms of Dr. Shroud. Got to be a little bit more careful. The arrow does manage to find Jungle Twitch, and Oizys have found their pick. Sassafras is going to get a nice knockout onto the other side of the fight. I thought he was looking for Dr. Shroud, but Busted is the target. Now the rest of the members of Oizys should be able to chase him down. The stun lands. Yomi will find that last auto. Peach Yellow throwing the ulti just for a bit of celebration. And now Sassafras is trading with Dr. Shrouds, and this is what the armor is built for. Dr. Shrouds just took absolutely zero to this poor Ornn.
And Team Oizys, they lose the dragon, but they win the fight. They get the gold, they get the turret on the bot side. And they're the ones that I would say managed to come out on top of that exchange. A beautiful roam there from Sassafras. A bit of an overextension as well from the side of Team Shadow Cows. And at the end of the day, despite losing that objective, they gain a turret. And they gain a bunch of kills onto their Fed members.
Yeah, kills on the important targets. It's a little unfortunate that Peach Yellow picks up a couple of those. 2-0-2 on the Sejuani. It's still a good scoreline. I think you'd rather have the money on the carries, as Righteous and Sassafras play a little bit of a dance there in the mid lane, but the money is still going on to the carries when it matters. Dreams finding kills, Yomi finding shutdown on the Bustin. It's the gold going on to the members that need it when they need it. So now, with that extra bit of money in the inventory, it's just going to be a matter of how do Team Oizys continue to mount their comeback? How do they continue to climb out of the hole that they found themselves in at this point in the game?
And I think it just does start with being able to deathball, right? We saw this in game number 1. The moment the game was unlocked, the moment Sassafras and Dreams were able to roam about and prance about at other avenues of the lanes, it kind of felt like the map belonged to them. And so now Sassafras doesn't really need to be constrained toward the top side of the map anymore. This Ornn is officially unleashed, and we saw the power of it in that last fight, being able to get that double knock up, and now looking for a trade onto Dr. Shrouds, but you get kited around. You may not be a sheep, but you will get sheep herded.
Hang on, Dr. Shroud stepping up in melee, though I'm not sure is exactly the place that he wants to be. Sassafras doing his best to get some spacing here, but it's a Rage versus melee matchup you're going to be suffering as. Oh, it's a flash hook, but it's a great block there from Peach Yellow, and now it's maybe the Blitzstrike, the one in trouble, the one getting punished. Righteous is going to get that stuff passive propped up, and Yomi's going to go on a killing spree. Peach Yellow does get knocked down by the Draven ulti at the end of the fight, as now it's a Spiral Despair landing on the Jungle Switch. Fourth God, gonna get the knock up. One more auto comes through. Sassafras will lock that one down. DJ Zeller is forced to walk away after the teleport, saying, hey, I thought we had a winning fight. What the heck's going on?
And the Shadow Cows prevail yet, or no, sorry, Team Oizys prevail yet again. A 2-for-1 exchange. The mid turret still standing strong. And I have to think that that has to be the next objective both of these teams have on their mind. They have been trying, preening, wanting to push up and establish deeper vision all throughout these like past 5 minutes of the game. Getting a mid turret would help them out so much, but the Herald is gone. The grubs are available, but they are 3 apiece, so not the most helpful when it comes to sieging down those towers. It still takes some time. So it's just going to be a war of attrition, a war of pushing and pulling for both of these sides, and it's all going to come ahead. And I would say about a minute here when this dragon spawns, that's probably going to be that's soul point potentially for Team Shadow Cows. They've been losing these past couple of fights. This is their chance to really reel it back in after these last couple of exchanges going the way of Team Oizys.
Yeah, Team Oizys has to be a little bit careful here when it comes to this next fight, because if this dragon does go over, there's a decent chance that you just end up being put into a really awkward spot where if you're not that far ahead, if you lose the next fight, you're starting to be in trouble.
For sure. It feels like Team Shadow Cows, despite being up in gold and despite being up in dragons, are on a little bit of a timer here, as Team Oizys are gradually starting to scale up. Eventually, those ornaments are going to be available, and that's going to be very dangerous for the side of Team Shadow Cows. As
Sassafras. I don't know
potentially
if
a
you want to
target.
be here. Call the Forge God, call to the other side, just looking for a knockup. He does manage to get it delayed, but it's the cavalry here coming down for Team Shadow Cow. The members of Oizys are on their way, but they're not going to be there in time. It's a nice hook from the Blitzcrank to get that one locked away. It's an attempted pick onto DJ Zeller, but Blitzcrank, not a Blitzcrank, a Blast Cone will be able to knock him out and get him back to safety. So Team Oizys, what can you do now that you know the positioning of these members of Team Shadow Cow? They're going to get the dragon. What can you get off of it?
They're going to get the mid turret as a result. So a trade coming out, and Team Shadow Cow, they are now on soul point. They managed to reel the game back in, and they're looking for more.
Dangerous here. Righteous doesn't manage to land the hook. A potential re-engage available for Team Oizys, but they're not looking for it. Sassafras has no TP, no ulti, so they don't want to look for any sort of continual fight without that consistent front line available for them.
Yeah, they don't have Sassafras in the fight. They do have Peach Jello, so a little bit of front line, but not really enough to tank all the damage that Team Shadow Cows have in their arsenal. Like 3, 1, and 2 Draven now has that last Whisper, so this is really when I feel the front line has to start sweating a bit when these armor pen items start to come through from the carries of Team Shadow Cow. You've got the last Whisper. You already had the Black Cleaver from DJ Zeller. So Sassafras and Peach Jello, despite being tanky, not really going to be invincible anymore, not going to be those raid bosses at this stage of the game. So I have to think they have to try and force something, maybe try to get an advantage, force Team Shadow Cows to come to them, because at this point you're facing down a team that has a fed Draven and is on soul point. So the clock is ticking for you if you're Team Oizys.
Yeah, this is kind of what the Bloodthirster first Draven does. When you give him any sort of footing in the game, it's so hard to knock him down. That sustain and that shield keep him so healthy in fights because his autos do so much damage to these squishies. And now with the last Whisper, he's going to do a lot of damage to the front line as well. As I feel like we've seen this play before. Dr. Shrouds doesn't have a heroic swing this time around though, so maybe Sassafras can find some sort of solo kill here. Flash available for Dr. Shrouds. And he puts the flash even with the Call of Force God missing. Now with the heroic swing back off the cooldown. With the trade happening at the bottom side, it looks like Team Shadow Cow wants to start this Baron, but it's not a lot of commit here for Team Oizys. They've got to teleport.
They've gotten spotted.
Now the hook's gonna land onto Yomi, but where's any extra damage? Where's any of your backline hitting that carry? The Stranglethorn is gonna hit on the 3. Now ZG Zeller is gonna get a lot of sustain. And it's the turn for TSC. Zeller is so damn tanky on this front line. It's a double kill for Double Twitch. Zeller is gonna get his revenge for the laning phase. We got to come up and just block out perfectly by Oizys, but Dreams will fall in his stead. Bustin buys another kill, and Team Shadow Cow are going to open up the map with the Baron buff.
And a beautiful ultimate coming out there from Jungle Twitch, combined with the strength of DJ Zeller. So tanky, has that Sterax and inventory, and nobody from Team Oizys was able to touch the Croc, was not able to kill the raid boss in the top lane from Team Shadow Cows. So they will claim the Baron without losing a single member. And they are looking to take back what is theirs here in game number 2. They'll knock down the mid lane turret, and they're looking strong here.
Yeah, they're looking to set themselves up here for game number 2, get themselves back into this series, and potentially look for the win here in this game. Set themselves to match point, get themselves ready to go for game 3, but Oizys are not down and out just yet. The gold lead, about 6,000 in Team Shadow Cow's favor. They've got fed carries. They've got good side lane control. So what can Oizys do to knock this one down? You've got the dragon spawning about 1:40. Is there even a possibility that Oizys can even fight for this through this Baron buff, through this Zyra that is so damn strong in these team fights?
You have the Baron, you have the ornaments at this point in the game. You've got the scaling still on your side. There is plenty of damage on Team Oizys, but it just feels like the range from the plants, the Rylai's, and the Leandries constantly hitting you from all corners of the fight is so hard for Team Oizys to deal with. The amount of zone control that this Team Shadow Cows squad has is starting to become really dangerous, and it doesn't feel like Oizys have a response to that. They looked for a trade on to Bustin, who immediately cleanses that Peach Jello ultimate, so no trade going to be made at the end of the day, as Dragon spawning in about 50 seconds, and you can just tell that Team Oizys want any kind of vision they can get, but Team Shadow Cows, they control this side of the map, and they tell you it's not time to get any vision around here.
Yeah, this is the Zyra item combo that just makes life so unlivable for the members of Team Oizys. That Rylai's plus Leanders makes life so difficult. This Yomi ignited in the mid lane, but now there's maybe a pick on the side lane. Might have found Dr. Shroud's understanding that he's just picked on the side lane. And Dreams in the meantime got away from DJ Zeller. I say got away, but now DJ Zeller immediately caster cursing me. Says, hey, you think he got away, but I'm still the crux. I'll still find a way to shut down the way.
That was Dominus, that was Flash, you get the kill, but the Dragon is up in about 3 seconds. The mid has been sieged by Team Shadow Cows. They'll move on to the objective, but they've still got some members of their own. They've still got some fight left in them. They're looking to try and surround this pit, looking to try and join this fight, but Team Shadow Cows, they're not starting up the Dragon. Righteous looking for any angle, looking for any hook. DJ Zeller on the top side of the map has the TP available. The Renekton ready to join the fight whenever. It's just a matter of who pulls the trigger first. Team Oizys, they've started the Dragon. They have the numbers advantage. Will Team Shadow Cow, are they going to answer?
If they give this up, it's not the worst in the world. I don't think they'd rather leave it, but you have your Renekton's pushing in the side lane. You know that Dreams is out of this fight, but they're just forced out of the pit. It's 3v4 because Dr. Shroud wasn't there yet, and that means Oizys managed to get away, I feel like, with murder there, picking up that Dragon from under the noses of Shadow Cows and buy themselves another 5 minutes before they have to fight for Soul once again.
So Soul denied from Team Shadow Cows. Team Oizys, like you said, managing to get away with murder there. And for now, it's got to be lack of murder that I think will save them if they're trying to get back into this game, trying to clear the waves, clear their camps, get some vision down, and just set yourself up to potentially contest this Baron coming up in about 2 minutes. And yeah, just try to play the game slowly. And Team Shadow Cows, the opposite has to happen. They've got to go on a murder run, a murder spree, try and utilize these Blitzcrank hooks to get picks and establish some vision and just some territory around the jungle of Team Oizys, who is now starting to be reclaimed by their members respectively. They're getting their own vision and progressively starting to fight back.
Yeah, I think a lot of this value through the ornaments is starting to come through for Oizys here. Yomi with that upgraded Kraken Slayer and Dreams with that upgraded Leandries. It means that they're going to be a little bit stronger in these fights, and the extra value starting to cut back on that gold lead. And I think especially I would just want to point out Bustin is itemizing towards the edge of night here on the Draven, which to me at the very least says Bustin is playing a little scared. The understanding that there is so much crowd control on this enemy side, on this from Team Oizys, that if you get caught by one bit of crowd control, one stray arrow, one stray Sejuani ult, when you don't have cleanse, that could just be the game.
Bustin kind of has to play for himself in a lot of these fights, right? Because sure, you have the front line of Righteous and DJ Zeller, but DJ Zeller, he's looking to get into the back line. Righteous is looking to go for those hooks, and he might have gone a little too far, as now Peach Jello is maybe looking for the play.
Righteous has to be a little bit careful. Does have that Zyra ult to support him, but nice little bit of CC there from Dreams. But Sassy Frass is here to get that lock down. The Asher was, well, just to guarantee they finally catch this annoying little gnat that is the Blitzcrank of a thorn in their side.
And Team Shadow Cows trying to look for an advantage down mid lane, but they are surrounded. Team Oizys maybe looking for the picks that they have wanted since they started falling behind here in this game. A good route will come down. So Team Shadow Cows still have control over this bot side. I want to see Oizys try to get some land around this top side of the map, get some vision. This Baron going to be spawning in about 10 seconds, and you have to try and make it as even as possible if you're Team Oizys.
Yeah, Blitzcrank now respawning means that the threat of that hook is alive and well. And you know who you have to aim for if you're Oizys. If you can find a pick on Jungle Twitch, if you can find a pick onto Bustin, you can open the team fight wide open for yourselves. But if you can't get these high value targets, if you're just pumping damage into DJ Zeller, into Righteous, you're just not finding enough value that's going to win you the game. Because if you're just, again, hitting these squishy lower value targets, or even the tankier target that is DJ Zeller, you're letting Bustin on Draven free hit. You're letting Jungle Twitch on this Zyra run an absolute train on your team. it just starts to look so rough. So Oizys, how do you manage to find your opportunity in these fights? Where's your flank angle? Where's your opportunity for the pick that you so desperately need before this Baron gets started up?
It certainly is difficult to get a flank onto a champion like Renekton, to get a flank onto a champion like Akshan, and even Blitzcrank. It's difficult as Righteous goes for the play, but he ends up going a swing and a miss.
He's got X Flash. He's feeling okay about it.
Yeah. So it, not a worthy attempt, A, for effort, and you don't lose anything at the end of the day. As you can see, Team Shadow Cows on that bot side and this mid lane just progressively pushing these waves up further and further and further. Dragon also going to be spawning in about 50 seconds, so I think Team Oizys are going to have to make a choice on what objective they choose to contest and or take.
I feel like you cannot give up an Infernal Soul versus a Zyra team. If I'm looking at this as Team Oizys, I'm saying, like, hey, we can stall out a Baron. If we get another Infernal Dragon, we get more damage on Dreams, more damage on Yomi. We can start to survive for longer. But if a Zyra with Rylai's gets Infernal Soul, if a Draven gets a 3 Infernal Soul, I feel like the game just ends at that point. Like, you can give up the Baron, you can stall it out, but Infernal Soul lasts forever. There's not a lot that you can do about that. As we got a trade up here on the top side. It's actually getting a lot lower than I expected it to be. DJ Zeller is still holding on to that dominance. Sassafras is going to pop that Call to Forge God. That's a great stun from the Renekton, which just means there's nothing doing for the Ornn in the side lane. And now Baron belongs to Team Shadow Cows. And I think this is the opportunity for Oizys to just say, hey, like, hey, Baron's gone. We got to deny Soul.
They don't have a frontliner, they don't have an Ornn, they don't have that Call of the Forge God for that engage, so they have to give up the Baron. They will get the Dragon, so Soul denied yet again. And now it's just a waiting game for Team Oizys, but now more than ever, this is your chance to potentially get a Soul yourself and get an advantage in the late game, something that you have so desperately needed over these past 10 to 15 minutes. And Team Shadow Cows, they just have got to try and utilize their Baron as much as possible. Put Zeller and Dr. Shroud on a side lane. They both have TP and attempt to choke out Team Oizys in these coming minutes.
Yeah, and now if your Team Shadow Cows looking for your opportunity to win, you have the Baron buff. If you can shove it down the throat of Team Oizys, if you can open up the base, get an inhibitor down, open up an inhibitor at the very least, get some extra damage in, there's a possible chance that you can start to end the game. But again, the longer this goes, the better it is for Oizys. This Ornn is going to only continue to get tankier. Ashe still waiting to finish up some extra items, so a lot more value to be found on this pick. Hwei, we know the team fight damage that a Hwei can do. It's just, for Team Shadow Cows, you have to find a way to end the game soon, because if this goes any longer, we're starting to get into the territory of, hey, I'm worried that you have an opportunity to even find a way to win the game.
And we're also getting into the point of the game where Sassafras, level 16, will be able to upgrade not one, not two, but every single one of his teammates. So everyone will have access to ornaments. It'll be like Oprah giving away a car at that point in the game. And yeah, like you said, Team Shadow Cows certainly do not want to let that stage of the game become a reality. And I like what they're doing here. They're going for a 1-3-1, but Oizys has different plans.
They look for the ulti down, but it just finds Righteous. They're not going to look for anything past that on the Blitzcrank. They know he's not the high value target that they were hoping for. And now it's just a wave clear game for Oizys. They have to keep these Team Shadow Cows members out of the base. Cleanse burned away from Bustin. Is Peach Yellow maybe in trouble here? The hook's going to land onto Jello. A little bit squishy. He's just dying to the Siren plays. This champ is so insane. You cannot give this one up. The Sassafras is going to try and get in, but your backliners have already perished. Drinks is going to get some extra damage there. They'll find the pick on the jungle Twitch, and Bustin and Righteous are a little bit too low. It's a triple kill over there, 2 with the Draven, but DJ Zeller does not need any more backliners. The picks were made, the damage was done, and Team Shadow Cows are going to send us to game 3.
And Team Oizys, they tried to look for a play. They tried to go for an avenue onto Bustin, but the primary AD carry for Team Shadow Cows has returned. He's got axes, he wants blood, and he wants game number 2. And like you said, Brittany, we are now going to match point in game number 3 of week 3 in the AEL here.
We finally get a game 3, and it's off the back of Team Shadow Cows with an incredibly consistent game. They had the early game. They snowballed it into mid-game. They did not give Oizys, for the most part, I will say, a chance to breathe. Throughout this game, they had a crushing lead, and we really saw the strength of this Zyra here in game number 2. jungle Twitch on this Zyra just let absolutely nothing happen in team fights. Those strangle thorns were putting up so much value alongside those plants, those vine spitters doing so much damage. Yomi essentially just dying on the back half of that team fight because the plants were just hitting them for free.
And all of that effort, all of that goes into busting the Draven 7-1-4. This champion, while not having the flashiest of games, was putting out the damage, was putting in the work, and really was, I feel, the missing piece that Team Shadow Cows were missing in game number 1, quite literally. So it's nice to see him back here in game number 2, and they look like a completely new team. They look like a completely different team, very complete, very whole, and it's going to be really interesting to see if Oizys can reel it back in game number 3.
Yeah, momentum now in the hands of Team Shadow Cow. We will see if they can lock down the series for themselves, or if Oizys are going to smack them back and say, hey, we're still coming out on top here in week number 3. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our final game of the night. Welcome back, everybody. We are here for our final game of the night. It's Team Shadow Cows and Team Oizys sending us to Game 3 here. Our first Game 3 of the AEL this season, which is so nice to see in the regular season. I'm glad we're not saving those for the playoffs at the very least.
Yeah, on broadcast, this is going to be the first time we've got a best of 3 actually go to 3, so very, very exciting to see that. And it's with, like we said, 2 teams that are looking to continue to prove themselves, right? For Team Oizys, this is about going potentially 2-1, trying to be on the upper echelon of teams in the Hextech division. And the Shadow Cows, this is about, proving you got the sauce as a team, right? Going 1-2, not going winless in terms of series. This is about salvation for them as we are starting to approach the halfway mark of the regular season. I believe next week will be week number 4, or I know it'll be week number 4. And that, I believe,
that is how we do Basic Edition. Good job.
And that will be, 4 of 7. So after that, we'll only have 3 more weeks, and that'll kind of be the point where people are starting to consider playoffs. So Shadow Cows wanting to make sure they have a little bit of wiggle room, going into those final few weeks, and a series win here would certainly help with that, as we are moving on through the bans, cruising on through the bans. Talia, Azir, Jinx, Zyra, Draven, Yi all taken off the table, so both teams paying respective amounts of attention to what we have seen in games number 1 and 2. The Zyra taken away, the Draven taken away, and then the Talia from game number 1. And the Shadow Cow is going to continue our tradition, and Ozzy is going to continue to keep our tradition of having those ADCs be our first picks.
Yeah, these teams love their first pick AD carries, and this Kai'Sa is something that we've seen banned away a few times in this series. Through game 1 and 2, Team Oizys did not want to let that one through, but now being forced to ban away both the Draven and the Zyra means that, hey, something's got to be let through, and this time it is that Kai'Sa. Responded to with the Misfortune Braum, which to me, at the very least, a Braum this early tells me that they do want to pick a few more skill shots. Maybe they want that Sejuani again. Maybe they do want a Ornn for themselves in the top side. So I wonder what Team Shadow Cows are going to opt to do with that in mind.
Yeah, and I'm starting to feel like Team Oizys want to go for, again, those wombo combos that we saw in game number 1. Meanwhile, Team Shadow Cows have the opportunity to really play their style of game, which is very in-your-face, very brawl-heavy, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Going to lock in that Leona. So a dive comp and an engage comp starting to form here from the Shadow Cows.
Oh, it's dive.
They're going to continue it with the Braum, or not the Braum, the Zac lock-in. I love this coming out from Team Shadow Cows, and Team Oizys potentially going to respond with a Sejuani. So we got boring jungle matchups all day here in the AEL, Brittany. I love this role so much. We get to see such exciting champions like Sejuani and Zac and Maokai.
Can't forget Maokai.
We'll throw in some full clearing on Zyra just to be safe. We're a little bit daring here in the AEL, if I do say so myself, as that Sejuani is going to be the lock-in here to round us out of these first few picks.
It's the price you have to pay for being the role with the most impact in solo queue. Sometimes in pro play, it's the most impact. It's easily the most impact. Slander. This is praise for the junglers.
You're a support player. What do you mean?
Look, support has the second most impact. I'm not saying they don't have impact. It's not, 80 carry, but junglers have the most control of the map in the game. So in solo queue, you get to run your games, and in pro play, you get to see the best junglers in the world play tanks every game, and it kind of sucks. But now we're moving on to the second phase of the pick and ban. The Fiora is going to be taken away from the Sassy Frax and that Mordekaiser that we saw banned away in round 1 alongside that Rumble here for Team Oizys.
So a lot of focus on those top laners, and Aurora, I feel like this is a troll ban, as Aurora's literally not enabled.
She's disabled. She cannot be picked.
Funny little Team Shadow Cows coming up here, but I have to think that they want to ban a potential side lane threat, because this is what Team Oizys did in game number 1. They had a death ball with 4 players, and then they had a Fiora sit on the side lane. Fiora banned away in this match smartly by Team Shadow Cows. They have learned their lesson from that game, thankfully, but there are still plenty of side lane threats that are available. Jax comes to mind, Camille comes to mind. Those are both really good blind picks, so we're probably not going to see the top laner just yet. We'll most likely see the mid coming out. So I am curious to see what that's going to be. And it is going to be the Swain. So going to try and eat up this engage that Team Shadow Cows are starting to draft for themselves. Now, what does Team Shadow Cows pick here? They've got the solo laners available. Mid lane, obviously, Tristana. Although nerfed is still an option, that is a very dive-heavy champion. You could still go for something like that if you want some AD. But if you want some AP, an AP dive champion.
We were joking about it last game, but I wasn't going to say the Anivia, but the Lissandra was open and available, and I think is pretty good against some of these more immobile carries from Oizys, but they're going to opt for the Anivia instead. What I'm going to call an odd choice here, and stylistically, I feel like not what we've seen from either of these mid laners here tonight, especially not for Dr. Shrouds here on the Shadow Cows, who's been much more aggressive in your face mid laners, more of the options that we've seen in previous.
And so it is going to be Team Shadow Cows rounding out their comp with a Renekton. And I have to think a Jax would go absolutely crazy here for Team Oizys. You dodge so many autos. You can dodge the stun. You can negate the damage from the Renekton in the early game. You're a side lane threat, which is what Team Oizys are good at. You have good 4-1 potential. I think that would be the best pick for them. But instead, they are going to go all in, slam dunk low down with the volley bear. So not the dunk champion of Darius, but a different dunk, like you said. And this is going to be a we've had some interesting creatures in the top lane today. We've had the Croc, we've had the Ram, we've had a boar, now we have a bear. So we're going for a petting zoo here in week number 3.
Yeah, we've actually hit all of the Freljordian demigods that are available in the game.
That's true.
We had the Ornn before in the previous 2 games, and now we've got Anivia and Volibear to match up alongside. No Ornn in this game number 3, but I do think the Volibear is a surprising pick. I thought that Darius was going to be some sort of spicy last pick, counter pick coming up big, but the Volibear is the option. I wondered if maybe we were going to see like maybe a Sejuani top, maybe a Zac top if they wanted to just negate a lane, but both of these teams I think are just happy to play these brawl-heavy top laners and just look to mash into each other's face and fight.
And I think brawling is going to be the name of the game, right? And Team Shadow Cows side, we've got mass amounts of engage, mass amounts of damage, and zone control, most importantly, with champions like Anivia being brought into the picture here in game number 3. And on Team Oizys' side, we've got a lot of sustain, especially in those solo lanes, the Swain, the Volibear, and just trying to peel for the misfortune. There's a lot of peel on Team Oizys, which could prove difficult for Team Shadow Cows to play through if they can't, respectively play around the fog of war. If they can't get those angles on the Zac or on the Leona to get to that back line, then I think Team Oizys are going to make it very difficult for those people to access that misfortune in particular. But there are other threats on Team Oizys than the misfortune. I think the Swain can be really deadly if put ahead. We've seen a lot of scrapping in the mid lane in particular. I feel like no matter what the picks are, whether it's Hui, whether it's Akshan, whether it's aggressive, whether it's passive, they're always at each other's throats. So I'm expecting more of the same here in game 3. Basically, it's the same color, it's just a different shade, I think, here.
Yeah, we've had a bloody series so far. We will see who's going to come out on top here in game number 3 between Team Shadow Cows and Team Oizys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for our final game of the night. Take care. Welcome back, everybody. We are here for our final game of the night. It's Team Shadow Cows. It's Team Oizys. And already off the bat, Quacks, you're a jungle player. Maybe you can enlighten me on this one. Is there such a thing as an arcane comet, Zach, or what? What are we looking at here?
There is now, for some reason, as you can see, Jungle Twitch, went the arcane comet on the Zach pick. I don't know if this was a mistake or intentional, because I personally don't play Zach, but looking at the stats here, it's almost always Aftershock and maybe a little bit of Conquer, so maybe Jungle Twitch is trying to cook something up. And I mean, hey man, this isn't the first time you and I have seen something weird in the AEL, Britty. We saw Jungle we saw Jungle Kaisa a little bit ago. Like this is starting to become the norm for us, for something that is always unorthodox to be played in our weekly series, as both teams going to go for the same play they did in game number 2, where they loop around and just get some information on the other team's jungle. But on the other side, Jungle Twitch actually going to invade the Raptors and attempt to steal those away from Peach Jello.
Yeah, he's going to be spotted out by Dreams here. No, actually, he's not going to walk towards that. I don't see any pings coming down. I don't think they actually know. That only ping of vision there was from Team Shadow Cow. So Dreams potentially could be caught unawares here by a swift little level 2 Zac gang, but I think seeing Dreams walk up like that probably got him worried, so I think he is just going to walk up and away and take that Raptor camp and say, you know what, I'm happy with a small win at the very least for the start of the game here.
They take that away from the Sejuani, a champion that, in all honesty, doesn't really need the first few camps in order to function. Really just needs level 3 and then can roam about the map to her heart's content. And Zach, a little bit interested to see where that early invade takes him, because Zach also is a champion that wants to get on the map early. Obviously, I would say needs more levels in order to be effective, get the extra range on that slingshot, but still kind of has the same playstyle of that of a Sejuani. So both junglers have the same goal in mind, but like we said, just a slight little camp advantage coming out for Jungle Twitch in this early game.
Yeah, I think another interesting rune call here that we didn't talk about as much is this phase rush on Dr. Shrouds. I'm looking at the stats from pro players and one tricks alike, and shockingly, actually, all of the picks are electrocute. I see, like, every once in a while a first strike, but I think that was also like now years ago at this point, where it's been nerfed a little bit since then, changed up since then. But yeah, it's almost all electrocutes nowadays. So seeing the phase rush as maybe a particular rune choice versus the Swain, we're gonna have to see how this one works out for Dr. Shrouds in terms of team fighting and positioning in the laning phase.
I definitely think it's going to be highlighting a more, kind of hit and run style of Anivia, where you go for a couple of quick trades and then try to bounce back out, prevent dreams from going back on a trade, trying to get any return damage as the Swain. As a relatively quiet early game, though, so far here in these first few minutes. You can see Jungle Twitch is maybe waiting in the wings on the mid lane.
Looking for the damage here, trying to get down with the Dreams, but just getting his flash, and now Peach Jello into the area, maybe looking for a response, gonna force the flash out of Dr. Shrouds. We've instantly just got the flash for flash trade in the mid lane once again. I feel like we've seen this every single game so far. All we need now is one of the top laners to die for first blood, and it's just games 1 and 2 all over again.
Something that's a little bit different is Righteous here in the mid lane.
Yeah, Righteous is here looking for that extra bit of engage. That's all they needed. One extra member here in the mid lane as they're going to give first blood over to Dr. Shrouds.
Dreams with a little bit of disrespect, I feel, on this Swain. Didn't have the flash, knew that the members of Team Shadow Cows were still in the area. Righteous was also roaming up. I think it was being seen by T1 Jello, who was also in the river at that time when Leona was going to mid. So just some disrespect coming out from the mid laner of Team Oizys and giving a first blood over to the Anivia.
Ooh, Sassy Fraz gets a nice trade back onto DJ Zella there in the top side. But yeah, giving first blood over to an Anivia is not the spot you want to be in. The laning phase is, I think, the weakest point for Anivia in the game. As she goes from here, it's only going to get stronger and stronger, and that zone control is only going to get worse and worse as she starts to get that level 6 mark. As we do see Jungle Twitch here on the bottom side getting a little bit of extra pressure down, maybe looking for some sort of invade on to Yomi and Jello's. Jello's going to get engaged on, has that Unbreakable up, but the jump back is going to get denied. It's a flash forward for Jungle Twitch to get the smack, and goodbye, Jello. Team Shadow Cows come out swinging here in game number 3 as hang on, instantly flashing onto Peach. Jello has that slice and dice, doesn't actually get the dice, so no extra damage to follow up, and now Sassafras is going to look for the flash in, shuts down the Croc, punishes the aggression from the Shadow Cows top laner.
And I like the intention there actually from DJ Zeller. He recognized that Peach Jello was maybe going a little too far forward, but the execution after the initial escape of Peach Jello felt like a little bit of a misplay. He goes on back up toward his turret when in reality I feel like he could have easily gone down toward his Grump, toward his jungle, and potentially escaped danger. So the result is going to be a kill going over to Sassafras, of all people, who did have to expend that flash. So more opportunities being made around the entirety of the map for both junglers to impact these lanes with how little members in this game have flash and that ability to escape harm's way.
Yeah, especially with the Sejuani and Zach. They take such good advantage of these members that are, speaking of being low, Peach Jello's on the other side of the pit, has to dash out of there. They get 2 at the very least, so if they can get back into the pit and grab something, but no, Jungle Twitch is right there. He's just going to smite that one away. So there's a chance, finally, for one of these teams to have more than 3 grubs, potentially, depending on how this next spawn goes, as Dreams is just going to instantly pop that Demon Flare. Maybe he's going to look for a turn onto Dr. Shrouds here, but I don't know if exactly the one they want, is that Demon Flare is going to fall off, and now Dreams is the one in trouble. It's the next stun from the Leona, and goodbye mid lane, goodbye Jello, the wall just to make sure there's absolutely nowhere to go. Team Shadow Cows really opening up the map here with all this mid lane play.
And a lot of it is in part due to Jungle Twitch on this Zac coming up absolutely huge in all of these exchanges. Sassafras gonna take a big trade onto DJ Zeller, but that Renekton does have that dominance, and now it's potentially Yomi in trouble.
Yomi does have flash, does have cleanse, and with that Leona movement speed, is going to be able to get out of there in time. As Sassafras going to flip the Dominance a little bit. The dominance from DJ Zeller just providing a little bit too much HP, and Jungle Twitch comes in to steal the kill credit, says thanks for the gold, and walks away. He gets an extra stack on his Dark Seal for the credit.
And Jungle Twitch, 5 stacks on the Dark Seal, like you said, coming up big, being so omnipresent around the map. It was starting to feel like it was a winning top lane here for Team Oizys and something they could play through as the game progressed. But the Zac shuts that down immediately, won't get punished for it as Peach Jello just taking their bot camps. And the tempo coming out from the Zac, the advantages in timing really starting to pay dividends as he is just so much more present around these plays as he's just going again in the mid lane.
And speaking of again in the mid lane, Righteous also here again, just making their presence known. Jello going to do his best to defend his jungler, and now maybe it's Righteous the one in trouble as Jungle Twitch going to pop that Let's Bounce, but he's not finding a lot of value out of it. He still has the passive, so he's going to be able to get the jump away. Manages to get himself out in time, and it's a great turnaround from Oizys to keep their mid laner alive and keep the hopes alive for them in this game.
Shroud going in for a little bit of an alley-oop, looking for some additional trade. Sassafras also continuing to push away on this top side. So this volley bridge is trying to really play for those plates and get that extra little bit of gold for himself. Because just you don't want to fight a Renekton straight up, as now there could be consequences to that team exchanging coming up toward the top side. Peach Jello is here, doesn't have the ultimate available. That is on cooldown, but could try to maybe look for a play. It's a little risky, though, now that Dominus is back and available for DJ Zeller. But the Sejuani, other than that mid lane play, really hasn't been able to impact a lot of these map plays.
Yeah, it's been a lot of Jungle Twitch just running this early game, and now with a lot of extra gold and a lot of extra XP in their inventory, they're going to grab that first set of tier 2s, which means that Zac is just going to get on the map more and more, be more active, clear that jungle out faster, get these ganks off sooner, and it's looking like a bit of a nightmare for Team Oizys, because now they have to deal with this Fed Zac and say like, hey, he could be ganking from anywhere. This is the real advantage of this pick. Sassafras is going to get another trade into DJ Zeller there. Yeah, this is the real advantage of the Zac pick. You can kind of just say like, hey, anywhere that you don't have warded, I could be jumping in from. I could be looking for that ridiculous side lane angle. You have to respect it at all times if you don't see the Zac on the map.
And on top of that, I could come out of the fight with more health than I initially started with going into it. As that certainly is the thing that pisses me off most about Zac. For those of you who don't know me, I hate this champion. I used to I think I perma-banned this champion for 2 straight years until I got really sick of AD carry and started banning away Draven, who I have not seen for like a year and a half.
You know what?
On my team.
As a support player, I think that's fantastic because Draven will either run the game or he will run the game, if you catch my meaning. And speaking of running the game, is Jungle Twitch again making his influence known in the top side. DJ Zeller will find that kill this time around, and now it's Righteous the one in trouble on the bottom side of the map. Stuns are going to stack up. Leon is tanky, but I don't know if she's that tanky. They should just be able to donate this one over to Yomi. One last auto, maybe to come through. Yomi's got the movement speed. The bullet time will find one last auto. I thought that might have missed for a second, but one bullet catches Righteous in the back.
They have to use the Misfortune ultimate to secure the kill. I mean, they get it nonetheless, and they'll take this dragon, but on the other side of the map, Jungle Twitch managing to make more of an influence on that top lane and also take away those grubs. And for the first time in this series, we are not going to be 3 apiece. It's going to be 4 grubs going the way of Team Shadow Cows. With about a 1k gold advantage, a lot of it in part due to Jungle Twitch being ahead in the jungle, but also Dr. Shroud's being fed as well. It just feels like Team Oizys are forced to make some of these picks happen, forced to make miracles work. As Jungle Twitch is here again.
Flashes away to get away from the pullback, but it still manages to land it right to the waiting arms of Dr. Shroud. Dreams surviving for way longer than he has any right to, but will finally get shut down, and now with a lack of damage. With the supports making their presence known in mid lane again. Team Oizys are just on the back half of these trades over and over. Jungle Twitch on this Zac is absolutely owning this map.
And this man, Jungle Twitch, handicapped himself with this rune choice. Imagine if this was an Aftershock or a Conqueror or something normal.
Has to use that flash and the cleanse to get away, and now teleport coming through from Dreams just to make sure that the AD carry stays alive. And this is the problem with having your support roam mid lane all the time, and especially being secondary on those roams, because sometimes you end up in spots like this where your AD carry is just isolated in a 2v1 and now is in trouble if Jungle Twitch can get in range to land an elastic slingshot on him as well.
And I mean, look at the wave, it's pushing in. Yomi has to pay respects to Jello, not even willing to walk up toward the middle of the lane, just in fear that Jungle Twitch is there, and their presumptions are right. That little spidey sense in the back of their mind telling them that the Zac is right around the corner could potentially save them from death, or it could welcome them into its waiting arms. As here we go again, another exchange in the bot lane.
From Righteous, Jungle Twitch is going to get in there, doesn't manage to get the stun on to Misfortune, but she will get pulled back regardless. TP's being burned, but Jungle Twitch does enough damage on his own. He doesn't need anybody else. He's just got the damage on the Zac. Sassafras will come in and find the lesson on the Righteous. Is here. Zac is just unkillable. I see why you hate this champion so much, because Jungle Twitch is dominating this game.
TPs, it does not matter. 3 members, it does not make a difference. Jungle Twitch on this Zac is coming up big, and they're looking for more.
Sassafras has the ultimate. He's just going to get CC'd through it. There's nothing that he can do. And with Busted taking up the tournament, it means that Jungle Twitch will not even be in threat of being in threat. First time we see the passive pop, and it nets them a kill and a bunch of plates for it as well.
And he's going to reset. He's going to spend all of that hard-earned gold and money. DJ Zeller going to get his back canceled. I don't think they'll be able to punish the Renekton. And Team Oizys not going to be able to respond. Oh, no, Busted.
Busted. Loses the cleanse as well. I think probably muscle memory that he had barrier or heal, but unfortunately not this time around. As it looks really good for Team Shadow Cows. They lose 1 on the back half of there. They get a couple of backs interrupted, but they're not losing anything else. They might lose like a plate or 2. Not even plates, actually. It's past 14 minutes. They might lose some damage on this bottom side turret. They might lose some pressure on Herald, but Herald can't be started by Team Oizys with how strong Dr. Shrouds is and how strong DJ Zeller is. They just can't walk up to a buff and start it because the wombo combo in the team fight from this Team Shadow Cows is so damn high.
And Yummy might actually get the turret. You know, we saw a huge exchange there by Team Shadow Cows, and they got close to being able to take that bot side turret, but it's actually going to be Team Oizys who will get the first turret of the game. So gold going the way of this misfortune. The question is, will it matter when the time comes, when the fights come around? Can that bullet time make the difference? Can it chunk out the frontliners of Team Shadow Cows? Because those are the members that have really had your number this entire game.
Yeah, I just want to point out here the difference in plates for the members of Team Oizys and Team Shadow Cows, because we see Dr. Shrouds here is down in gold over Sassafras. I want to point that out specifically because Sassafras has so much time here on the top side to get these plays. I say that, but now he's the one in trouble again in the 2 versus 1 jungle Twitch, just constantly making his presence known. Sassafras still holding on to that Stormbreaker. He's going to try and get it locked down, but God, this Zac does damage. He's only got Abyssal Mass, but it doesn't matter. He just shreds the health bars of Oizys.
And they get another kill. They burn the ultimate from Sassafras as well. So if he decides to join in a fight, he won't have that available. And a fight might be on the horizon as Peachcello has found Dr. Shroud.
Dr. Shroud's a little bit in trouble, but maybe just baiting for his team as the Boltime is going to be burned onto 1 here, just onto Righteous. And now Jungle Twitch has rotated down from the side, the Solar Flare to knock down the hopes and dreams of Oizys. Jungle Twitch wants more, but it's just a double kill for his AD carry busted. Yeah, I can see why Zac is your permaban, and I wonder if after this game you might go back to it.
You know, the thought is always there, especially me, an assassin main, having to go against the tank. It's never fun, but I think the only thing saving Zac from not being my permaban at the moment is his pick rate, because Zac isn't played very much in the current meta. And we're seeing that if he was, maybe there would be a difference. His dreams is going night-night and is going to be dreaming about having some dreams in the fountain, as he had no hope of getting out of that one. Didn't even expend the flash. He knew he was caught there. And Team Shadow Cows in game number 3, Brittany, what happened here? The switch flipped the moment they got busted back in game 2.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a communication or a shot calling thing. Maybe Bustin is their in-game leader, or maybe it's just the confidence of having your starting AD carry back on your roster. But Team Shadow Cows are continuing to play aggressively in the early game, but now it's turning out in their favor. Now they're making it work, as Team Oizys just looks a little lost on the map here. They're not 100% sure what to do, because anytime they try to make a play, anytime they look for a cross-map play away from Jungle Twitch, he shows up in the play regardless. The mobility of Zac, he's just constantly here when the plays need to be made. I say that, but now he's stuck in the base and is rotating over to the play. Now it's Righteous and DJ Zeller trying to get onto that backline, trying to force the flash out of Yomi, getting it out of dodge. Now Dr. Shroud's getting some damage down on the Dream on this front line. They're going to force the flash out of him as well. DJ Zeller tanking up on the front line. Keep your eyes on that mini-map.
Oh my god.
Jungle Twitch gets in here. The health force so low for Team Oizys. When does
Here he comes!
Onto the back line, he's forcing the damage out onto Yomi, and goodbye at back line, goodbye front line, goodbye Oizys. It's a double kill for DJ Zeller. He'll get some kills over to Bustin as well. And it looked good for Oizys for a second because Jungle Twitch wasn't there, but as soon as he arrived, it was all over.
And you're saying your goodbyes, you're saying them to the front line, the back line, Team Oizys, and I'm saying goodbye to game number 3 as Team Shadow Cows. 2 dragons scaling in their favor. They've got the grubs, they've got the mites, they've got Jungle Twitch on the Zac. How can you lose? And they are 20-5 in kills. This team turned on the Jets in game number 2 and turned on the boosters in game number 3, and Team Oizys, they're getting left in the dust.
Yeah, the insane thing is, before this day started, Quacks and I were talking about predictions for this series. A lot of people were saying that it was pretty Oizys favored. It was going to be like 2-1 in their favor, and then we heard Bustin was going to be out for game 1. We were like, oh man, maybe it's even a 2-0 because Oizys is just looking that good in their past couple games, even on the losses that they found. Team Shadow Cows just haven't found their synergy yet. They haven't found their sauce to get their games online for them, but something happened in the scrims between week 2 and week 3, because this is a entirely different Team Shadow Cows here in the AEL. This team, despite being 0-2 coming into this week, is a force to be reckoned with. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of them in the weeks to come. And I hope that we see them in the playoffs too, because this team looks exciting here in game number 3.
Absolutely. And they are continuing to steamroll ahead. Baron has spawned. Team Oizys scared to walk up. They're probably checking their surroundings in real life, making sure Jungle Twitch isn't around to come and jump onto them. And they have just got to tread so carefully. Even in their own jungle, they're walking as a unit, scared to get picked off. They're even taking the red buff as a team. What is going on here? They're doing one-man activities as a group. This is not team bonding. This is team breaking at this point in the game, as Team Shadow Cows are starting up the Baron with all of the members of Oizys up, and one of them right on the other side of the wall, that being the jungler.
Yeah, they have to be a little careful here. Baron down to 5k. Ward's starting to come through into the pit. They're going to start to peel away from it. But just imagine you're playing a normal game of League of Legends, a comp game. You have a lead in game 1. You're so excited. Game 2, it's a little rough, but you know, you just ended up throwing a fight or two. But then in game 3, you turn your back in real life, and you just hear Zach say, "Let's bounce," and suddenly the game is just so far gone as busted. Clean little sidestep there away from Peach Jello. And I think the mental might be starting to get to these Team Oizys members as well, as it is, again, just such a rough spot to be in. You had the momentum in game 1. You were looking strong. Game 2, it was back and forth. It was competitive. You don't end up winning it. That's fine. You've got game 3. But now game 3, everything's just out of your control. You're nearly 10,000 gold down, and it's just about 20 minutes. I mean, what do you do as a team at this point? How do you start to recuperate? In what way can you start to come back? What's your win condition here in this last game?
I mean, we saw it in the top lane fight, right? They were in a 4v5 scenario for so long, they could not burst down the front line. It's a lack of damage. It's a lack of being able to get past those frontline members of Team Shadow Cows, and just not able to get on toward Bustin, on toward Dr. Shrouds. And in a 5v5 scenario, don't even get me started on that, right? Because in that top lane fight, in that fight near the Baron pit, the moment Jungle Twitch showed up, 5 members strong, Team Shadow Cows just looked unstoppable. So Team Oizys maybe just need to look for picks as, you know, 2 or 3, just try to get them, because 1v1 picks, just trying to catch someone out by yourself, not going to work for them. And that's a little bit of an unrealistic expectation, I feel, at this point. Trying to catch one member out when you are 2 to 3, when you're moving as a unit, trying to get picks, you tend to attract a crowd and tend to scare people off pretty easily.
Yeah, especially with all the vision being placed down by Shadow Cows and cleared out by them as well. So if you just look at the wards here, the vision available for Team Oizys is just entirely on their side of the map. Most of their wards are littered around this Baron pit. The rest of the map is practically dark for them. They can see Dr. Shrouds pushing up there on the top side. They can see DJ Zeller getting some pressure down bottom lane, but like, truly, what can you do about it? If you look for a collapse onto DJ Zeller, you lose Baron. If you try and force this Baron, if you try and make a contest happen, you're probably going to lose a bottom lane turret. And Dreams, for as much as he is still a Swain and still has decent wave clear, I don't think he can manage to match a 1v1 with DJ Zeller here. If he's 2 levels down, this is a 2-item Renekton with Eclipse. I think if he gets close, Dreams is just going to go lights out.
Really, it's just one more thing that Team Shadowco have to do, right? And it's get that Baron, but they haven't really been able to find a pick that puts Team Oizys on the backside. So instead, they're just going to brute force it. They're saying, call the banners, call the cavalry. We're going to go for a flip. Not the most smart choice in my mind, but certainly one that you can make if you're looking to close this one out in fashion. If some of our West Coast people are looking to get McDonald's before they close down, you want to end the game fast.
Yeah, I will say it's something that was mentioned. We talked about the Stormwatch a lot on this particular broadcast, but something that was mentioned in this particular week's write-up of the Stormwatch for this matchup was, hey, don't flip Baron versus Team Oizys, because that's how they came back and won their game in the last week's series. So every time I see TCS walk over to this Baron and start poking and prodding at it, I get a little scared because I'm like, oh man, are we going to see, is it a repeat? Are we getting a week 2 run back? Is this a comeback of a century? But they haven't started it. They haven't like fully committed to it yet. They've just been like testing the water, seeing if they can get cooldowns out of Oizys. And so far, they've managed to get a TP out of Dreams when it was traded for the TP of DJ Zeller. So at at this point, the game is kind of stalled, which I would say for Team Oizys is kind of a blessing because you can start to stem the bleeding and think about like, hey, how can we start to find a fight? Because we're going to think about Dragon in 2 minutes, the Baron, that omnipresent threat. We have to find some way to get ourselves back into this game, or it's lights out for us here in week 3.
But this isn't just any Dragon, Brittany. This isn't just any soul. This is a mountain soul going the way of a Zac. That is, or a Hextech soul going the way of a Zac. That is an absolute nightmare to have to deal with. And it feels like Team Oizys have to look for an advantage, look for a pick, try to get some piece of the puzzle on before that Dragon spawns so they can at least stand a chance to contest that, and it might be here in the bot lane. DJ Zeller, the target of a pick by Sassafras.
Yeah, it's the 2v1 here in the bottom side, but DJ Zeller is just mobile enough on this Croc that he's not even worried about being in threat range. Sassafras does have the teleport if he needs to get back up here, but Dreams doesn't. They have to find some way to get in, and now Busted has found his way into the back line. He's going to tank that bullet time to the face. The Kaisa does not even care about the cooldown. Jungle Twitch is going to go unstoppable in the back line in the meantime, and now DJ Zeller and Dreams in the 1v1 on the bottom side of the map. As I said, Dreams goes lights out, and it is just nothing doing for Oizys here in game number 3. Peach Chill is still in the area, but I think it's just going to get sold out by Righteous if Jungle Twitch doesn't interact with the fight, but it's busted over the wall with a Void Seeker to pick up that kill. And now the game is wide open for Team Shadow Cows. They got their picks. They're going to land the Baron, and I think they might even be able to manage to find a way to end it here on this next push.
They are getting the Baron, but the Soul is spawning in 20 seconds. They're going to take their backs. They also get the turret in the bot lane as well, so they further constrict the members of Team Oizys, confine them now to the contents of their base. They're going to take a mid lane turret as well. And yeah, with the Baron, with Soul soon to follow, it's looking like Team Oizys, they're looking for a hope and a prayer. But as Azael said, God is on Team Shadow Cow's side. His name is Jungle Twitch, ladies and gentlemen.
His name is in fact Jungle Twitch, but it's not the Twitch that's been the carry of this series. It has been this Zac. Now it's on Oizys. You've got to battle through a Baron buff, and somehow Michelle is going to manage to walk away from that. I'm not 100% sure how. Jungle Switch, I think, should just be able to turn around and knock him down. Peach Yellow, no flash on this Sejuani. I wonder if it was a misclick that brought him to the wrong side of the map, as now Bus is going to start to lock him down, and Jungle Switch has the elastic slingshot again. He's got access to Yomi on this backline. Look at the damage. It's just Zac all day. Jungle Switch goes dominating. They don't even need the Soul. That's 3 members down for Oizys, and it's Jello and Dreams trying to defend their base, but it's soon going to be just Dreams, and it's only Dreams available for Oizys as it's Team Shadow Cows with an immaculate series comeback. They're going to lock down Dreams. It's a double kill for Busted. They're going to lock down the series, shatter the expectations. They'll take game 3.
12-1-7 for Busted, 6-0-18 for Jungle Twitch. Fully assembled Cows, and they come up big. That will knock Team Oizys down a peg. Both teams now 1-2. Congratulations to Team Shadow Cow for picking up their first series win here in the AEL. Well deserved. Such a clean game 3 and a great game 2 as well. And what a series that was. That was my favorite one yet.
Yeah, and what a way to do it. Like you said, an incredibly clean game 3. As soon as they had the barest of leads, despite maybe some interesting rune choices in the jungle, Jungle Twitch was just said like, hey, runes don't matter. Summoner spells don't matter. As long as I have Zac, I'm going to win the game. Because like you said, Zac is this disgusting champion that does enough damage to the backline that he's just a monster threat, and he leaves the fight with more health than he comes into it. And with how far behind Team Oizys was, they couldn't index into anti-heal, they couldn't index into armor pen yet. They had to get their core items first, and by the time they got them, it was already a 10,000 gold lead for Team Shadow Cows.
I mean, that Zach was just everywhere. Not only was the Zach really the catalyst to this early success and this snowball getting going so early on in those first few minutes, but also shout out to Righteous as well. There was a lot of roaming coming out from both supports, but Righteous, particularly in that first play around mid lane, punishing the flashless Swain, that was really what opened up the game, and that was what made a lot of plays happen in those early stages for Team Shadow Cows. It was a joint effort by Jungle Twitch, by Righteous, and boy, did they make it work. They got the members that they needed to fed, they got the objectives that they needed to on time, and overall, it just felt like Oizys were left in the dust by the time they, like you said, got their core items.
Yeah, with that, we're going to wrap up our week 3 here. We are now pretty much halfway done with this season of the AEL. Teams rise, teams fall. Teams are looking to start their playoffs March, and some teams are looking to try and recuperate after some losses. We'll see if we can see Team Oizys again, or if Team Shadow Cows have broken their mental entirely here in week number 3. But that is going to be it for us here on the broadcast. I've been What's It Birdie. That's been Quacks. Wookie Monster, our producer at the back, making sure that everything runs so smoothly.
Shout out
Again,
to
thank
Wookie.
you all so much for joining us. We'll catch you next week with more AEL. Have a good night.
Dark clouds move closer, but with a deeper sweat. Oh, beneath them we look on. When they part comes the hatred they bring. Lost in the dark, we've come so far. Another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day. 'Cause only nightmares break their face. So stand upon these fallen lands and follow in our Father's plans. Yeah, until the end we will remain, and we'll hold on until our last breath. So what is to be left for us? My people look on and say, don't fear what you don't know, 'cause we're far from certain fate.